Welcome in, everyone, to Dig on America, a socio-political podcast where every week we give you, yes, you, the dig on U.S. history, politics, policy, and sometimes pop culture. And we discuss how they affect social issues today. DOA is independent media, supported by listeners, but probably also a deep state propaganda arm funded by George Soros and the Clinton Foundation, and of course, Jay-Z and Beyonce, and generally some fictitious characters, such as whom today, Big Hoss?
Archie Bunker.
Archie Bunker.
The man.
Now that is it Woody Harrelson, Archie Bunker from the remake, or is it
no?
Was it
real
Carol O'Connor?
Archie. Yes,
Carol. I'm surprised I
Carol
thought of that
O'Connor,
name. Yeah. So welcome in, everyone. That right there, I am Jason Dutch. That right there is Big Hoss, the darkest of all dark knights that I've ever met, at least. How we doing there, cigar smoking aficionado?
I believe you've met my fitness consigliere.
doing pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, can't wait for the humidor today. Very special cigar.
You got a nice V cut on there. I love the V. Pause. Also with us, the producer that everyone hates to love and loves to hate, from the Cleveland show himself, Michelangelo Battlestar Famiglia.
That was a good one.
Static Shock Famiglia. What's happening?
Yeah, I'll take Static Shock, but you can go fuck yourself over the Cleveland show.
I think I'll do that. I'll be right back.
It shouldn't take too long.
I'm already back, as you can see.
And I'm
Dutch
good.
just got back. Dutch just got breathing back with the LA booty. All right. So we have a guest on the show today.
What's happening right now?
So this particular guest, we're just going to refer to him by his military rank. We are related in a way, I think, but he wants to remain somewhat anonymisio. So we're going to allow him to do the anonymisio, although with his face on there, it is 100% certain that the QAnon army will find him. They will drag him into the streets and make animal balloons. So welcome to Dig on America, the captain. What's happening, Captain Morgan?
Captain Morgan. Well, I don't actually drink that, but I'm here. I'm happy. I'm actually a fan of you guys' show, so excited to be here and to see what we got to talk about.
It's so funny, like looking at you on the camera, you look exactly like your son. Like it's like you're an old version of your son. It's just really
that's got to be a good thing. It's got to be a good thing.
That I didn't say that. So
yeah, well, you know.
Let's not. In fact, we'll post this link here in the chat so everybody can watch you.
All right.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Today's topic, before we get to that, is going to be basically political socialization and the shaping of politics by our environment. So it's a really interesting topic. Glad to have Captain here for it. This is for you, Cap.
What's that?
Man, yeah, that couldn't have been better. I got a brother that still calls me and says that every time he calls me from 30 freaking years ago. So that's perfect.
Well, there you go. Here's another one for you.
You see my distant fellow. I hate to kill you.
We actually watched that today.
Oh, you can never go wrong with watching The Princess Bride.
Yes. Great
Rodents
movie.
of unusual size? I don't believe they exist. Except I am one. So, Cap, tell us about your military history. I know you're going to tell some cool stories probably later. You know, just a little bit about you. That which you would like the 7 listeners to know.
So, might be 8 tonight because I'm listening.
That's 4.
So, yeah, that's 4. All right, there's just 4 of us. So let me see. I have been married for 39 years and May 29th coming up. I've got 4 children, 2 grandchildren. Served in the Army. Actually, I did about 10 years of restaurant business managing. And then I served in the Army for 22 years. Did 10 years, about 9.5 as a combat medic. And then went into OCS, Officer Candidate School, for those who don't know what OCS is. And did last about 11.5 years as a field artillery officer. That is me in a nutshell.
Okay.
All right.
There you go. Well, again, thank you for your service to our country. We do appreciate that. I think that it probably makes the most sense to start out here with our game. So let's do that. We'll start out with playing a game we like to call 4 Down Territory. We'll all ask you a question. So let me call that audible. Omaha, Oklahoma, Florida, Nicaragua.
Yikes.
Set up.
Yikes.
All right. Who wants to ask the first question here to the captain? Oh, don't everybody say yes at once.
Next
I'm
question. Next question.
I'm imagining you're out in Cali. So what is it? In-N-Out and Whataburger? Like isn't there like a burger chain rivalry out there? What's the
I'm assuming you're talking to Jason because I'm nowhere near Cali, but
thanks,
no, he's
Jason.
not from California.
no.
Okay.
Well, he's trying to remain anonymous. So why would I tell you where he lives?
I'm in Oklahoma. It's fine. It's fine. Jason and I prayed about this.
I'll rephrase this question. What's your favorite specialty burger in Oklahoma?
So they have a burger out here. It's called Mears. It's actually top 3 in America when they do the little rating each year. It's a super lean burger. They also have buffalo burgers out there. Great little place. It stays packed all the time. Sometimes you have to get a reservation just to get in, but it's a real small place. Only seats about 40. But one of the best burgers you'll ever eat.
Cool. I've had buffalo. I've had buffalo. I don't know that I care for it.
They're pretty good, actually. Of course, we got a wildlife refuge.
The farts are amazing. The next day,
you haven't lived until you had an ostrich burger.
I have not. I've never had an ostrich burger.
Duck fat fries.
Oh, duck fat fries are that you can't. There's no argument there. You ever had those, Cap?
I have not had those.
Oh my Lord!
It doesn't make sense.
I cannot verbalize how good these fucking fries are.
Oh, okay, man. Okay,
I'm telling you.
As a guest, I think you guys should get together and send me some. What do you say?
The place where I got them at, they closed. So.
Oh man!
Oh, what an excuse!
You can't set me up like that, man.
But I can ask you the next question though.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
So, given that you spent a lot of time in the military, what is the biggest stereotype or misconception about military men from civilians, or military people in general from civilians, that you would like to set straight?
Yeah, so, I think what I encountered a lot is people think that we're just, they just look at you different. They think that you're kind of you run in a different crowd, or I'm not sure what the concept is, honestly, but I would, you kind of get treated different, like you're not part of society, but you're, obviously you're just another person trying to do your job, just like everybody else. But there's definitely, I remember being in a church back in San Antonio, and for the first probably 6 months, I just got back from Korea. People were standoffish because they just thought, again, I'm not sure exactly what each individual thought, but it's just like they stood off from me until they kind of got to know me and go, okay, this guy's just, another guy. I assume the bigger level to that is maybe an actor, right? Or an actress. And so we look at them in this, prism of who they are, and they're just put on their pants, et cetera, et cetera. So
Right.
Yep.
Very cool.
So, in other words, in the military, people do wear pants.
We do, but they're
That's
all the
what we
same
hear.
color. They're the same color, but we do wear pants. Yeah.
All right. So my question for you is this: if in the story of your life, the movie that Spielberg is making about you, what actor plays you and why?
Well, I've had people tell me I look like Tom Hanks. I don't see it.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew you were going. I knew it. You kind of you got a little hankish. You're a little hankish around the chin area.
Right there.
Give us your best Woody.
My bad.
Whoa,
my
nuts.
goodness.
Well, you guys are the worst.
Whoa.
We're talking about Woody and Buzz here. Stop.
Whoa.
Easy,
Whoa.
Cosby. Heathcliff, calm down over there.
Oh.
It's been a whole week. He's all pent up. Listen to him.
The cowboy from
Wantin' and
Toy
wantin'.
Story. Is that okay?
Gross.
I understood this show to be clean.
Brokeback Mountain. What the fuck?
Jeez,
All right,
Judge.
so Tom Hanks plays you. You like buffalo burgers, and then we got one more question in 4 Down territory. Who wants to take it?
I got you. What's the worst at the what is it called, the PX or whatever?
Yeah,
that's
PX.
on basis. What's the thing you've wasted the most money on?
Ooh, probably speakers.
Oh, like music?
So like music. So in Germany, they had this 4-floor PX. It's the biggest PX I've ever seen. And I went in there and they had Bose on sale, and I spent this was back when I was still in E4, I believe, which I made no money. And I spent about $600. And we're talking 1992, 93, when I didn't.
That was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money for a guy that's making about $1,500 a month. Yeah.
You spent $600 on speakers.
$600. I just sold those at a garage sale about 3-4 months ago. Yep.
For how much?
I think I got $50 out of them or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just not the same.
You needed it at the time, though. You had to have it.
Oh God, man. I love watching movies with surround sound. So I kind of set it up back before that became popular, and kind of did my own little wiring, and watched Woody.
Woody does Dallas. Woody does Toyland.
What?
Whoa.
Here we
All
go.
right. Go piss it. Haas, go piss into the wind. Here.
You are fake news.
There you go. All right. So I'll tell you what. Let's. You want to hear one of his military stories first, or do you want to jump into the topic? Your choice, gentlemen. Haas and Mikey, collaborate.
What do you think, man?
I mean, he's already a little unhinged. You might want to just get right back to the topic, because you know, telling what he's gonna. I mean, he's already talked about pissing, about wood.
Right. He's talking about water sports. He's talking about
we better just
doll fetishes and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if we can trust him with just freestyling.
Let's have him read fetishes. Something. Yeah, doll fetishes. All right, so I have a part here for Big Haas. I have a part here for Captain, and Captain is generally aligned himself as a conservative. Haas aligned as a liberal. So I'm going to flip them up and have them read opposing parts. So,
suppose.
all right, here we go. Now, so for today's topic, again, we're going to talk about political socialization and shaping of political ideologies. So in my 8th grade social studies class, Mr. Humble taught me things that, as it turns out, after doing my own research, wasn't exactly the whole story. And this week, we will dive into a very interesting topic. What are political ideologies and how are they shaped by the social environment? Social scientists and political scientists call this phenomenon political socialization. Now, in America, there are a number of ways people characterize themselves politically. Typically, they identify with a political party, although there is a lot of overlap between political party and political ideology. There is not 100% accord between the two. So in America, we have 2 major parties, but many political ideologies. One may identify as a liberal or a conservative or as a classical liberal or a separatist or a libertarian or a socialist or a nihilist or an anarchist, or if you're shopping for one, you can get it on Craigslist. Most folks believe that liberals are left and conservatives are right wing, but until pretty recently, both parties had a liberal and a conservative wing. So it may be helpful here to hear from a conservative and to hear from a liberal on their views. So in order to do that, we're going to first go to our conservative guest, who is not yeah, there he goes. Now he's back onto the screen.
You're gonna have to make that bigger.
I give you Kurt Russell, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I can make it bigger for you if you want, but Haas is fine with this size. So Haas, read away, my friend.
You're muted, big dog.
Who's reading? Me?
Yes.
Okay.
It would be helpful if you paid attention.
No. We're talking about this before you. I'm not your conservative guest. I'm reading the conservative portion.
Yes, but which makes you the
clear,
conservative
Dutch. God
guest.
damn it!
It makes you the conservative guest. Go.
No, it does not.
So just a quick producer's note. Hey Dutch, if you maximize the damn window you want your people to read, they might be able to read it. I'm just saying. No, the window where the text is. Maybe you should max it. Yeah, maybe make the box as big as it. There's a little button you can push.
Right there.
You just push the button to maximize.
It's the box in the upper right hand corner next to the X. Push it.
That's it.
There we go. All right.
Change your zoom to 100%, and then there you go.
These are the things the organic things that happen on Dig on America podcast that just don't happen other places.
Right next to that zoom slidey bar, you can do page at a time. You don't have to.
All right. It's all right. I can read the red. That's what I'm reading. Dutch is muted and he's talking anyway, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's Dutch.
American conservatives believes that large government poses a large threat to individual liberty. We prefer our national government to be as small. Why is a comma there?
Listen, I
just want to know why is there a comma there?
I spent 3.5 hours writing this paper, and you complain about one error.
It should not be there.
Oh,
okay. We
He types
prefer
how we
our
talk.
national government to be small. Take the as out. Thank you. A trait we have in common with libertarians.
What the fuck?
One area in the social sphere where we differ significantly from libertarians, however, is that they often support things like marijuana legalization, social programs, and gay marriage. That there is wrong. But that's all right.
Pause. They only support those things so that they can try to get out of paying taxes. But go ahead.
Okay.
They don't actually care.
They're spelled wrong. Basic functions we believe government can take on. But we conservatives propose the federal government has too much power. Powers are best handled by states and localities, as evidenced by the shitstorm of the last election. We also believe a free market will provide the greatest economic benefit to most people, as evidenced by economic inequality. We support strong defense, which is why we love the 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens, and hockey, but hate the run and shoot offense NBA, and Michael Vick. Military spending is where we generally like to allocate funds, but we believe programs that fall under discretionary spending should be left to the private sector or charities, as evidenced by the Trump Foundation, which dissolved rather than go through legal scrutiny,
I love the
thus
ad libs
reducing
here.
spending and lowering taxes. In the past few decades, we have rebuilt our foundation on the Second Amendment, which nobody's introduced a gun law yet to take away y'all's guns, patriotism, school
Who's
prayer, everybody prays in school as soon as you put the
This
pop
one?
quiz down, and pro-life, which should mean say pro-birth. But anyway, says these best reflect traditional religious and patriotic values, like storming the Capitol and smearing shit on the wall. Anyway, in short, America is a country of freedom, and government is a threat to it, not a protector of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Liz Cheney.
That was beautiful.
Clearly on
All
the
right.
outs with the Republican Party. So, are you able to read the green, Cap?
No, you're going to have to
Here.
make it 150 for me.
All right, so
here's
here's what I'm gonna do for you. Watch this. Look how nice I am here.
God, man.
Or what you can.
There you go. That better?
No.
How about
No.
you do it so that only one page shows up at a time?
That's what I told you before. You cannot do on this because it's a screen share. But here we go.
All right.
There you go. I can't do it because I'm on a different screen. Trust me. I have tried. Mike, stop ruining the show. Here we go.
He gonna blame you for ruining the show.
He's
He the one who wrote this shit.
addicted to blaming me for things.
Is it still too small for you there?
Still too small, man. That's
All
what
right.
happens.
Can I
Are we
offer a
talking-
suggestion?
Okay. Oh,
There's
God.
a
There we
button right
go.
there
There
that you're
we
not
go.
pushing. There's a button
right.
right there you're not pushing,
okay.
but whatever.
Okay.
Whatever
okay,
button that you're talking about, I have no idea what it is, and now's not the time. There we go.
Okay. I'm going to need you to scroll up as I get to it.
Yeah, I
All
will.
right. Since World War II, liberals in the U.S. are often called New Deal liberals because policies that we support grew out of the New Deal. Lately, a number of us are trying, hint, hint,
He scrolled a little bit.
to rebrand ourselves as progressives, although historically, progressives and liberals aren't the same thing. In general, we liberals believe government can help solve a problem. Man, you can't scroll while I'm reading. and a bigger government, just like a team of superheroes can solve, hint, hint, bigger problems. We liberals support government intervention in the economy, both in the form of regulations and higher taxes, especially when the intervention benefits historically marginalized groups like minorities, women's, and the poor.
He said
Women's. We like to see the government protect the environment and step in on behalf of consumers, often by regulating big businesses, because in general, we don't trust anyone. No, where did we go? We don't trust that the free market will be fair to everyone. Liberal knows that social safety nets and environmental hint, hint, protections cost money. So we favor higher taxes. We don't have a lot of faith that our big businesses have best interests at heart. Until, of course, one of us is elected to office, at which point most of us sell out. Defense is important, but we spend more than enough on military. So the defense budget should be cut, leaving money for the necessary social programs. In the debate over guns or butter, we generally like butter, but we're okay with the butter until someone breaks in. I'm sorry. Okay with the government telling us not to eat too much of it. Our primary political virtue is equality. And we see government as a necessary agent in promoting equality.
And there we go. So next
So-
time I have a 900-year-old man on the show, I'll make sure to.
I apologize,
do it.
guest, that he doesn't know how to fucking make it one screen at a time. He's
I'm-
being
I'm-
very
You
nasty
cannot
to you.
do
I'm
it on a
guessing-
large screen like this. I'm telling you right now. It can't
I'm
be done.
guessing that these are hyperbolized things that we're
yeah,
reading.
Yes,
just
they
a
are.
little
They are. They are absolutely hyperbole.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so for the most part, this is what Americans and liberals and conservatives typically build their political fortresses on. But where does the influence on society come from? You guys don't need to see that anymore. As mentioned before, political scientists refer to the process by which individuals establish personal political ideologies as political socialization. And they have identified 4 main agents that contribute to our political identities. The first important source of politics is family, since parents are usually the first people to express a political opinion to their kids. Parents can influence your political outlook in negative and positive ways. So if you respect your parents and admire them, it's likely you'll adopt their political ideology. On the other hand, if your folks are Woody Allen, Hulk Hogan, or Joe Jackson, you might adopt an opposing political view as a form of rebellion. A second major influence on political ideology is social groups, which often refers to race. Obviously, these are generalizations, but certain groups tend to fall predictably into liberal or conservative camps. African Americans and Jewish people are among the most liberal Americans, while white Catholics tend to be the most conservative. Latinos are a very interesting case study because many identify as Catholic, but they tend to be just barely slightly more liberal politically. Economic status is of one's community and whether or not they achieve a desirable income, is also a big factor in political ideology. One problem with this is purely self-interested view of political ideology is that there is a large number of low-income white voters who typically would gain from more government benefits, but yet tend to be conservative. In other words, be careful when you try to define politics by looking at bank accounts, because income level is not a good indicator of political leanings. Gender also tends to be significant statistically in terms of political ideology, where the gender gap refers to the fact that women tend to be more liberal overall than men do. A third agent of political socialization is education. This is a formal way that our political views are shaped. Most American students take history in school, and these courses, they learn things about political values and liberty and equality. And they may use these things to think critically and then align themselves with whichever view, liberal or conservative, fits with them better based on how they perceive the curriculum. Conservatives tend to think that American schools push liberal outlooks because most public school teachers are members of unions, and union membership correlates at times with liberal viewpoints. Although to say that teachers are liberal is a little bit of a leap. What is supported by data, though, is the higher the education level one attains, the more likely one is to profess liberal views on issues such as women's rights, universal health care, or abortion. But on the other hand, higher education levels also correlate with more conservative views on free trade and against many social welfare or affirmative action programs. The final silo of political socialization are the political conditions that somebody lives through. For example, if somebody grew up during the Great Depression and New Deal programs benefited their family, you may have developed liberal views. But if you came of age under Reagan, where political politicians were singing the praises of self-reliance, you likely developed a conservative political view. It remains to be seen whether people who form their political identities or are forming them during the 2008 recession or now during COVID will use this to be liberal or conservative, but fear not, science and data will someday certainly figure it out. And OAN will say,
You are fake news.
but how is this shaped? Well, let's take a real quick look for a moment to examine this. The three main influences our political opinions are government, private groups, aka interest groups, and the media, aka my phone. The biggest thing that government can do to shape public opinion is to do things, whether it's raising taxes or passing policy, or sometimes by doing nothing, which is usually bad for them. And by the way, the Senate of the U.S. is astonishingly fantastic at doing or not doing or doing nothing. anything at all ever. So
Zero.
that's perfect for them.
Worth
The
value.
president is the most effective politician because he can go on TV pretty much anytime he wants. A trend started by Teddy Roosevelt's bully pulpit, and later with FDR's fireside chats and Clinton's massive PR efforts. But outside of war and scandal, the fact is that the economy, which isn't even that closely tied to politics, is a constant and important factor in society forming likes or dislikes of given administrations in an aggregate. Interest groups with lots of money also shape opinion due to their lobbying power. Groups like the NRA, the Brookings Institute, the NAACP, and ALEC are hugely impactful on public opinion and political socialization. Which brings us finally to the media, the evil empire controlled by the deep state, which of course we are just another pawn of, and we're destined to implement the New World Order by the end of the day, which is of course led by Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. One way the media shapes what we now know that we know of is called priming. This is how the media shapes their viewers, by priming their viewers. This is when the media outlet has a particular view on an issue and responds through the amount of coverage it gives or doesn't give. For example, if media outlets choose to focus on crime, they do a new show called Prime Time Crime, starring Deion Sanders. Then crime will, of course, become a greater concern to the viewers of that show. The way the media outlets choose to interpret an event for us also shapes political socialization. For example, the launch of Obamacare was a really good example of this. Some media outlets focused on the number of people who signed up for health care who didn't previously have it, and others focused on the failure of the initial launch. The point of this story is that the media decides to tell about an issue. The way the media decides to talk about an issue can change the way the public thinks about an issue. So that's a brief introduction to the ways that political scientists and social scientists study political views held by individuals and groups. Hello, Wayne. You just woke up. He thinks it's morning. So
he lives
hello.
in the UK.
Yeah, he live. And no, Kevin, I'm not using OBS. So it's just that I have a weird screen. It's an old TV, not an actual computer screen. So if you want to donate some money to the show, I'll be happy to buy.
Here we go.
Oh, you can ask for money.
Looking for a handout.
Yeah, you can ask for money at the end of the show, but I can't ask for money. How convenient. How convenient. So, Big Haas, your thoughts on specifically the political socialization of this. Is the media more influential in your eye to how people think than parents, schools, and the social environment around you? What do you think is the factor that shapes most people's political identity in your sphere?
I think that for people that don't like to do research, then the media will be the most influential, followed by parents if they have a good relationship with their parents. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who vote the way their father did because their father, they looked up to their dad, and their dad was conservative or progressive or liberal or whatever you want to call it. So they vote like that, or they do it there.
You better get down to the polls and vote for Trump.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Believe it or not, I know a lot of my wife works at a university, and guess what? A lot of kids who was their first time voting, that's what happened. They voted exactly how their parents voted, no matter what. You know what I mean? But I think that in this day and age, there's a lot of research. There's a lot of resources to gain information out there. But then there's a lot of media that people gravitate to that can shape perception, because people will go to the media and use that instead of going to the media and then going to the resources that they cite.
Yeah.
And looking at those resources and saying, oh, this report came out of Stanford, so let me click on the link for the Stanford study, read that, and then make my decision. You know what I mean? And guess what? A big, huge red flag when you're looking at a media outlet story for information is if there's no citations there, then it's all somebody's opinion, pretty much. You know what I mean? And like I say a lot, 2 + 2 is 4 if Breitbart reports it or if MSNBC reports it. But if there's a study out that says, Stanford reports that 2 + 2 is 4, and it's on MSNBC, there's some people that'll say, "Oh, that's MSNBC," or if it's on OANN, they'll say, "Oh, that's OANN," and they don't just say, "You know what? Let me go and look at that." And so I think that media, especially through this, has made a lot of us lazy. And I can't say that I'm pure about it all the time, but I try to go to the site, the citations, and look at those, and then do some other parallel research to find what the real information might be politically.
Let me ask a quick question on that. I want to direct this towards Captain and Mikey both. How problematic is Facebook with this? Because they obviously target ads towards you. And so, I mean, if you search for, negative Trump stories, you're going to get 1,000 negative Trump stories and vice versa. So there is somewhat of a veil there as far as like Facebook showing you what you want to see. Whoever of you would like to go first, but I think that's a key issue.
I'm going to go back up a little bit. So obviously I'm a little older than you guys. And I know in my household, like I became a Republican on my own. My dad really didn't tell me one way or the other. It wasn't discussed. Our generation, parents didn't really communicate to kids. And I don't just say that on my own. I mean, that was.
You're not that much older than me and Haas, I think. So.
Well, I'm 59. I don't know how old you guys are. But
you're a little older.
I'll be 49 in July.
We were in school at the same time. Let's just say that.
So yeah, and I know your parents. So yeah, our parents just didn't communicate that way. And I obviously have a ton of friends, been in the military, been all over the world. So I've talked to many, and it's kind of a joke that the lack of communication versus I know with my kids, just this last election cycle, I said, hey, go get registered. And I made sure they got registered because, you just don't know what you don't know as kids. And they're all liberals, by the way, but I just wanted them to vote because that's, kind of goes back to the military thing. I fought for that right. And I want them to, regardless if they agree with me or disagree with me, I want them to go and do that. So I just wanted to add that kind of snapshot from maybe 30 years ago.
And that's fair. I mean, I don't remember a conversation with my dad where he told me, and my dad is pretty far to the right. I don't remember any conversation where he said that I had to vote Republican. But he did. They do insist that if you don't, that you are.
Your dad's different. Your dad's different. Your dad's different.
I mean, but so I'm not sure that did you guys, Haas and Mikey, did your parents tell you who to vote for?
No,
ever?
No. By the time I was voting, I was away at college, so they couldn't tell me who to vote for.
And I would ask about stuff. I was like, so why is there red and blue and da-da-da? And I asked for a breakdown, how everything worked. And I was like, so which one are we? Are we the red team or the blue team? She's like, I'm not going to tell you that. You'll figure it out on your own.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, that's good.
That's unique.
Yeah. Now my mom did, my family did motherfuck Reagan and shit like that,
Sure.
And stuff like that. But they weren't like, oh, you got to vote for this or that. You know what I mean? And, I think that for the most part, you figure it out on your own, and then I think it comes out of kind of your personality. You know what I mean? I've been told that I've always been a caring person, looking out for others and things like that. So therefore, I lean more towards things like protecting the social safety net, looking out for people in need and things like that. Whereas conservatives are seem to be more on that personal accountability. If you didn't make it, well, you've made a bad decision and fuck you. So
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because if there's one thing that I can say about at least my own upgrade, and this is anecdotal, obviously.
Right. You might be your experience might be totally different.
Anecdotally speaking, you know, giving to charity and helping other people was always a core tenet, and it's a core tenet of Christianity, one that the church has remarkably forgotten about. I mean, they want to support missionaries and they want to support the community in ways that they want to, but you know, it's like a minor thing now where it used to be a pretty major thing.
But I think this is like giving to charity is different than saying, hey, we should protect public aid for poor people. That's a whole different thing. That's saying that the church is accountable for taking care of these poor people that can't eat. When we all know the church doesn't always do that.
Well, and there's a misnomer there too, because areas that have less taxes will generally give more to charity, but it's not because of the fact that there is less taxes. It's because of the fact that when you have less charities around to do certain things, you generally going to have communities that have higher taxes that do those things instead of the church. So, and there's a question as to who does them better, because, you know, the government, it's typically going to be a little bit more, at least on paper, equal, where with the church, it's going to be, well, we're going to target this particular group or this particular community or this particular cause and give the money out as they desire. And I don't have a problem with,
see, and as they desire and who is in need can be two different things, though.
Right. That's exactly what I was about to say. You probably said it a little bit more eloquently than I was about to say it, but that's precisely the fact. But as far as Facebook goes, Mikey, what are your thoughts on the Facebook phenomenon that's all over the news right now? Are they a problem? And with this, you know, they're fighting against the opting in on Apple now, saying they won't be able to target ads to you. But we don't really care about ads. We care about political and social content in this conversation.
That was a weird way of asking a question.
Every way that I ask a question is weird. You've been on this show for a year and a half. You should know that by now. Thank you. Welcome to the show.
Can I answer the question? Or are you going to ask the question in a longer way that you already asked it? As far as all social media is concerned, and whether that's the even old school dinosaur radio or TV, people have to be responsible for their own education, their own critical thinking. And that's something that the schools kind of lack in, is because when you teach kids critical thinking skills, then it kind of inoculates them against group thought. It inoculates them against stupid radical behavior. They don't do stupid shit when they're able to actually think about the steps after their first decision. You know what I'm saying? And to answer on Haas, I don't think people are just lazy. I think they're just apathetic. Like when it comes to like keeping up with all this stuff. I'm glad you're listening to me, Dutch, instead of playing people's comments that have been going for 15 minutes. Thank you. Because people are totally able to keep up with fantasy sports, movies, all kinds of media. But then you ask them which district that they're in, and they have no idea. They have no idea who their representatives are. They have no idea they don't know who the mayor of the town is. They don't know shit. So people want to do what they want to do. And if they understood that knowing about how the government around you in your community is set up and who's in charge and who you can go to and who do you pitch a fit to when something doesn't go your way, if you know all of those people and you have a way of getting a hold of them, a lot of your problems go away. But instead, I got to get Deshaun Jackson and, oh my God, did you see the last episode of The Boys? But they want to, you know what I'm saying? So it's very easy to complain on social media. And I think that's the easy part. That's the lazy part, because instead of fixing their problems or at least addressing their problems with the people who they should actually be addressed to, they just complain to the rest of the fucking uneducated people on the things like, see, we're fucked forever. It's like, well, you wouldn't be fucked forever if you actually fucking complained to the person whose job it was to fix the problem.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, by the way, I didn't mention I was a history teacher for 4 years and a principal as well. And as you were sharing that story, it reminded me of a girl, and I was teaching her history, obviously, and she was from Korea, and she had written a bunch of stuff in a note, and I read it, and it was kind of dark, and I met with her the next day. I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And I said, "How come you're not interested or doing? Because I know you're smart." And she said, "Well, you're not teaching me a life skill that I need. I live with my grandparents, and you're teaching me history, and I'm not sure I'll ever use this again. But what I do need to know is how to wash dishes and how to do this thing and how to do these things. And so I literally said, I was a basketball coach as well. So I said, okay, you're going to do the laundry for the basketball team. So, and she actually really enjoyed doing that. But I think you're right. And the other thing it reminded me of Martin Luther King, of course, who said, it's not the things that you don't know about, but the things that you do know about that you're apathetic toward. And that's a big problem in our society, and including me, man. I started feeling a little guilty as you were talking. That's a problem in our society is apathetic to the things and not doing the research, as Big Hoss talked about earlier, on both sides, right? On both sides, because I tell my boys all the time, I say, listen, we get caught up in this red and blue thing as we started the show with. And the fact is I truly believe they're all making a ton of money and laughing at us down here that are, fighting over a couple of colors. And instead of changing the people that been there forever, not doing the very policies that, both sides want, right? Because I think we agree that we need change, regardless if we agree what that change is.
That's what's funny, Cap.
Change is not going to happen.
That's what's funny, Cap. There's a lot of intersectionality when you get down to the individual level about, hey, there's over 65-70% of people that are for healthcare for all across lines. You know what I mean? There's lots of bipartisanship when you talk to the citizenry, but then because of the money, the corporate money that's infiltrated politics, we don't get represented by our politicians in the ways that we actually want on a fundamental level. You know what I mean? It's just
sure.
Because as long as corporate money is in politics, the politicians are beholden to those corporate donors, not the citizenry.
That's right.
And that is a foul. Here's to you, Captain Obvious.
Here's to you, Mr. Super PAC donor.
So we got to get that corporate money out so that we have politicians who are actually beholden to the citizenry that elects them.
And in the script that Cap read as reading on the liberal side, one of the lines that I wrote into there on purpose was, in general, liberals believe in X, Y, and Z, and then we also believe that we don't really trust businesses because we don't believe businesses have the best interests of Americans at heart. Right. And then they get elected to office and they sell out. That's exactly what was written into the script because it's unfortunately true. We have one of the things that one of the reasons why the squad, love or hate them, whatever you want, is so marginalized is because they don't get the protection of the PACs and of the corporate Democrats who are elitist and disconnected from America. They don't know what Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters and Dianne Feinstein here in California have no fucking idea what the hell is going on in California in their own communities. So it's, Luis Elizardo, I believe it's called, is another one out here in California it's the same way. Kevin McCarthy, another like these California politicians are the fucking worst. Gavin Newsom is being recalled for two reasons. One, because California is a stupid state with dumb laws, but two, because he's just kind of a disconnected twit. He's an American blue blood like Triple H used to be. And as far as the Facebook thing goes, though, I think that the problem with the whole Facebook issue right now is that is the place where people are literally getting their entire news from, the entirety of their news from, and a lot of times what will happen is Uncle Bob will post a story. It'll happen in two ways. Uncle Bob will post a story from Newsmax and give his summary on why Newsmax is right. They read that without reading the article from Newsmax and then fact checking it. Or they, it can happen, on the other end as well. But that's a big problem when you're getting your news from Uncle Bob. Even if it's
but that goes back to the critical thinking thing. Like Uncle Bob can't keep a fucking job. He has 3 teeth. His fucking truck stays fucking broke down. Nothing in his life has gone well. He is not successful in any way. But as long as he says things that are xenophobic against a group that I kind of feel really weird about, then Uncle Bob all the way. I knew he was right about this. And people ignore that shit. So there is no excuse for people getting their information from Facebook other than they're stupid. I'm tired. We don't have to paint it any other way. If you get your information, I'm looking at you guys. If you get your information from fucking Facebook, you're stupid. Stop doing that. Grow up. You're not 12 anymore. Grow up.
So obviously,
unless it's the Dig on America Facebook page.
Don't listen to us either. Listen to real experts in their fields. Go read actual papers. Don't listen to us. We're wrong too sometimes.
One of the things I do just to get a different aspect is I know you guys will love that I watch Fox News, but I also watch so I watch it late at night because it's a rerun. But I also watch CNN because it's, first of all, it's comical to see one story that has so dynamically opposing views
on the same issue.
On the same issue.
The amazing thing is, though, that they don't even usually have the exact same story. So it's amazing that you saw the same story on both.
And there's many stories that are the same. They're just you wouldn't know they were the same story, but if you listen and pay attention. So I kind of like to do that, and then I do look at Facebook, but I'm not looking at it as a resident expert, and I also look at Twitter. But at the end, I think what we're all trying to say is, you got to be smart enough to dig deeper and find out who the experts are, who's telling, kind of like he said, does it have any references, where'd it come from, et cetera, et cetera. And listen, so we got left and right sitting in here. We got far left and far right, and I don't support either one of those. I consider myself more of a centrist than I do my kids would definitely disagree, but
well, that's the Overton window for you.
Well,
I get called crazy things.
I didn't push any political. Of course, I lived a political style, but I didn't push political styles on my children.
What's your thoughts on the education? Because everything that I read, and by the way, the source for this, the main source for this week's paper was from AP, which has a podcast called Crash Course, which I've used 2 or 3 other times. They're really fantastic if you haven't watched it. But and they're older videos, so they're like from 2011, 13, something like that. But seeing as this is that the content that I'm pulling up here is about 75% of it is sourced directly from AP. What's your thoughts on when you were teaching history, like how much of that was, I'm going to use the term whitewashed, like Columbus was awesome. The Civil War was about states' rights. And I'm not saying states' rights wasn't 1% of it, but it was 1% of it.
States' rights to keep slaves.
Yeah, right. And
Come on, quit playing.
That's what I'm saying. It was 1% of it. So it's like that's a dishonest argument to say, to say stuff like that. So, is there any, like when you were teaching, did you teach directly? I'm interested in 2 things. Did you teach directly from the curriculum? Number 1. And number 2, do you feel that the education that students have learned over the past 20 or so years is biased in any particular direction? And if so, why?
So I taught at a Christian school. So
yes, it was biased. Next question.
It was without a doubt. I won't argue that. So I will say this. So all of my kids, when the riots began and the BLM organization started popping up and all that discussion was hot and heavy, one of the things we talked about, I taught about the Tulsa race riots. Like that was in our books. And but all of my kids said that was never taught to them. And we're in Oklahoma, by the way.
Right. You
Yeah,
and six
no,
other
no.
teachers are the only ones that ever fucking taught that, because it
Yeah,
took until
yeah.
after I graduated that I
Yeah.
learned
No,
anything.
That's my point. All of my kids said that was never, and we're in Oklahoma, so that was never taught to them. I was shocked that it was in ours because, as Christians, we can get into a deep conversation there, but I have my own views of the negativity that I experienced myself. But, it's just, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm sorry, I got lost in that story. What was your second question?
The second, well, you answered the first part about deviation. The second part would be, do you feel that the curriculum has a bias in shaping kids' political views in a certain way, or do you believe that it's just here are facts and you do what you wish to with them?
No, I think we just made a point of that by saying the race riots weren't in the books, right? So
Right.
who wrote those curriculum? It was predominantly, white people, most likely. Why weren't in Oklahoma? I'm just going to have to pick on that population right now. Why wasn't that put in the books, right? So I think it's obvious. No matter, again, this goes back to there's evil on both sides. No matter who wrote those, it's going to be swayed by your opinion. So if you and I write them, right, we're going to get a little bit of both opinions in it. But if I write it with a bunch of conservative people, we're probably going to get a narrow view. And that's a problem. I was, so when I was a medic in the military, I was part of the writing the curriculum, right? And we had a lot of say. I was surprised how much we said, because I was enlisted at that time before I became an officer. I was surprised how much we had to say or were allowed to put into that curriculum. And so I imagine, now I've never been part of a curriculum team as far as teaching goes, but I imagine whoever's putting that curriculum together, both at the high school level, junior high, college, all of that, it's going to sway whoever's putting it together.
Mikey?
Yeah. It's weird, right? Because it's easy for me to sit here in 2021 and say this is the correct history, right? Like it's super easy with all the hindsight in the world to say this is the correct history. But I don't think we're doing our kids and in turn our young adults and in turn our voting populace any favors by hiding shit.
Agreed.
Because all it does is it teaches it gives people a bias that they don't know that they have. So when people say or when people bring up, it's like, oh yeah, like the massacre in Tulsa, they're like, that didn't happen. They're saying it out of ignorance because
that was from a TV show. That was from Watchmen.
Yeah, they think it's made up, and then they're like, wait, that fucking happened. Like there's kids right now. If I bring up if I say something about internment camps, they look at me like, when was that? Was that like in the 1800s? Like, no, bitch, that was fucking 1943.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about?
Look at you like that.
Like my wife, just the other day, we were talking about why there's such hesitance in the Black community to get the COVID vaccine. And I was like, well, you got the Tuskegee experiment. And she's like, what's that?
Right.
So I had to proceed to explain to my wife about the Tuskegee experiments. And she was like, oh my fucking God, I did not know that happened. I'm like, it 100% happened. And it just was never, she's like, they never taught. I was like, of course not.
Does the military talk
so
about
much.
that? Does the military talk about that at all, Cap?
No. I've seen it for the first time. I've seen it for the first time in a movie.
Yeah. And like people don't know, people need to get hip to the Henrietta Lacks story about how they took her cells and used them to make all these vaccines and treatments for cancer and stuff.
Yeah.
And just they took them without her permission.
There's a military unit that, so it's medicines, it's the best boots, it's whatever. So there's actually, you volunteer, you get paid extra money. I had a soldier that came to me in Korea. He was kind of a goofball. And I was like, what is your deal? And so he started telling me about the unit he had been in the last 2 years. And he had tried all these different medicines and been shot up with all these different things. But you volunteer versus what you're talking about. That was not, they did not volunteer about that.
Right.
Yeah. It's
Interesting.
crazy.
Do you want
Mikey,
to? Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, you go ahead and take the last thought on this before we move on, Mikey.
I was about to say, Haas, if you want to like break down the Tuskegee experiment, like give them a 30-second rundown for anybody who isn't aware of this, just give them something to wet their beak so they can go do their own research instead of listening to us. Stop listening to the internet for your shit.
All right.
Or watch Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
So yeah. Well, you know what? Even better than that is just to go and actually look up the information.
That's
now,
correct.
a high level breakdown is this. Imagine a government selecting a group of men from a certain group and injecting them with this STD to study the effects of the STD if it goes untreated on the men, on the women they subsequently infect, and the children that they subsequently have. And tell these people that they're actually getting a vaccine or something that's going to help them not get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine a government doing that to a group of people, unbeknownst to that group of people, and then juxtapose that and once this comes out, understand why that same group of people, the descendants of those people, might have a little bit of hesitance when it comes to getting a vaccine. Look that up.
Let me ask one last quick question to you, Cap. As far as the church goes, and you're a Christian, where does obviously the church is big on promoting political philosophy these days and political socialization in a religious setting. What do they get wrong in your opinion, and what do they get right? Is there, what's your stance on the politics of Jesus Christ, as we'll name them for this show?
Yeah. So I can only talk about the church I'm at because I don't know what other churches do. But I'll share a story that you guys are probably kind of sad about. First of all, my pastor doesn't push it at all. He doesn't talk about it. It's about Jesus, and that's it. I mean, it's about the Bible. It does not go into politics. He'll actually say, if you were looking for that, that's not what you're getting here. Now, when when the riots began, the BLM organization and those things became to the forefront, he invited a Black Democratic pastor. Now, mind you, this is a Christian that came to our church. People left the church.
Oh, yeah.
Which broke my heart. And I'm like, why? Because he's a Democrat or he's a Black, right? So
yes.
The answer to that is yes, all of the above.
Sure.
The answer will always be Democrat, but they'll not. But we know what.
No. It was the second, and what I told, and so I've been at this church for 20 years now, and so I'm very good friends with associate pastor, and I've taught Sunday school and been part of men's group, et cetera, right? And so I met with the associate pastor because we hadn't been to church in a year because of COVID and because my wife has asthma and we were just being extra careful.
Good on you.
And so,
so
when I met with him, he was telling me this story, and I said, and what I told him was, good. We don't want those people in our church anyway, because are you serious? Do you think Jesus, if we're actually living by the code of love everyone, would have left the church? Because I don't care who it is, right? Pink, orange, green. It made me sad that happened in today's society. And Jason, that I've got a daughter that dates a African-American young man. And so that was a big conversation in our house. It even is touchy because I'm the only conservative, and I'm sure, again, because on both sides, right? Oh, he's that and he must think that, or she's that and she must think that. And that's just not true. We got to get away from the red blue thinking mentality and start thinking about, okay, he or she is in an individual, and we got to talk to he or she and get what their heart is. But again, going back to that incident, we found out the true heart of these people. Just like it amazed me. But I wasn't surprised by a few people because I always imagined just the way they operated. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be
kind of got a sense for those ones.
I'm careful not to judge people because I don't want to be judged like that. But listen, it is what it is. But anyway, yeah, I don't know of other churches, Dutch. I don't, because I'm just in my church. But it goes back to what Haas said. I didn't take offense to, but I was amazed that your outlook was what the church does, because we do prison ministries, we go feed the poor, we do a lot of things in the community, and a lot of money is spent in the community. But I can only speak for our church, so I imagine maybe your experience, as I thought through that, maybe your experience was not a positive experience from other churches. But I would hope that churches are doing exactly what Jesus told us to do: go feed the poor, go help those who can't.
Just a little ancillary question. What do you think about taxing the churches?
Again, every show.
Listen, I don't think taxing the churches is a good thing. But what I will say are that people that have ancillary attaches to the church, I see that being taken advantage of, and I'm like, how did they get 501 and they seem to be buying extra houses in the name of the church? That kind of that kind of stuff bothers me bad, because again, I mean,
yeah.
So maybe maybe we should tax the big churches, leave the little guys alone, but we should just at least start by taxing like the Joel Osteens and the
I could listen, my wife beat up.
$dollar.
Got it. I got another one, baby. I got another one.
We proposed a couple of weeks ago that that perhaps, can we do a show on this with a guy from my men's group from church? We proposed that maybe they pick a number, like maybe say 250,000, and then let individual churches have $250,000 a year of tax-free, and everything over that is taxed at 25%.
Yeah. Well, listen, first of all, with Joel Osteen, I'll say this. I think it was, what was it, the hurricane or the flooding or whatever, and he wouldn't let folks in his church.
Not Katrina. What was it? It was Sandy.
No, it was the one. Yeah, the one in Texas that J.J. Watt had the big.
Yep.
Because J.J. Watt still is like people are just raving about J.J. Watt doing. And that was great what J.J. Watt did, but it's like they think he's this national hero for putting up a Twitter account, and then it's the people who donated to it who were the actual
no doubt, but
heroes.
Using his name in that way, because if he doesn't use his name in that platform, right? So it's important that he uses his name and platform. So we got to give him credit for that.
Well, it is, but the point though, Cap, is that he's not the first pro athlete to do that. He's just the first one that fits a particular demographic where they said, "Oh, it's good."
Yeah. Real quick. So I went to History Channel, the History Channel's website, and just Tuskegee Airmen. Jesus Christ, Dutch. So the Tuskegee experiment, they're talking about the experiment of having an all-black flight, an all-black squadron.
It's called the Tuskegee Airmen?
Yeah.
They're not talking about the actual experiment, though.
No.
You Googled the Tuskegee experiments or the Tuskegee Airmen, because those are different
those
things.
are two separate things.
No. Wait. Point of order.
The
Tuskegee Airmen was also considered an experiment to see if black men had the mental capacities to be fighter pilots. So that might be where that gets. No. I know that. But I'm saying this is that might be where the disconnect is that they don't want to talk about the giving of people syphilis. They want to talk about this grand experiment to test the mental faculties of black men and see if they could fly planes and play quarterback in the NFL and shit.
Oh, here they have a separate page for it. I found it now.
Okay, good.
History Channel, you're in the clear. I was about to say there's no way that they left that entire part out.
They said give Terrence Howard and his boys the crappy.
We're gonna fly these planes, man.
Yeah,
we're gonna fly these planes. We're gonna take out us some Krauts, man. I love you, Terrence Howard. If you're watching,
you're gonna leave my man Terrence Howard alone. Y'all gonna stay off of the light skinned brothers. Y'all always hard on.
Why y'all shooting at my plane, man? Why y'all
The,
shitting on
ori- the original roadie. All right,
Yeah, leave
so
Brody
I have
alone, bro.
I have a quick story I want to talk about here real quick. I just want to get your guys' thoughts. I don't know if you guys I think I sent this out to all of you.
I don't read them.
I know. So because you're just not a good partner. I'm going to divorce you. Your woke money is no good here by
I
Ted
want
Cruz.
half Eddie.
So-
I want what's coming to me, Eddie.
You treat me like animal.
What have you done for me lately, Eddie?
Jeez.
Suck my dick, Eddie.
Not
And
the
it's
bitch
the
you
pop-
was making riding on a zebra.
It's the pop culture hour here. Oh, you know what? Real quick, before we start talking about this story, though, I did want to show this comment. Cap, this was for you. The comment on the bottom of the screen. Wayne says, "You're 59. What fucking moisturizer are you using?" Because he wants to buy a bucket of it.
He's drinking the blood of babies. You didn't know?
You're
That
queuing
baby
on
blood.
it.
Some shots of baby blood, baby.
You're with Hillary. Got it. Okay. So Ted Cruz, this is a really interesting article. He says the woke money is no good here. And one of the interesting things that I read when I read through this article and some of the tweets that came along after this is Ted Cruz does not apparently like, and I'm not subscribed to the Wall Street Journal on this computer, so I can't read the whole story. But Ted Cruz,
Are you subscribed to them? Are you subscribed to them on any computer?
On my phone, yes, I am. Yeah, I got a free 3-month subscription. I would not pay them any money, by the way. But when I signed up for one of the Apple Pay things, I got 3 free months. So, but regardless, it was nice because this is like the second article I've read on WSJ, and Ted Cruz just went and basically decided to tell us all that he's corrupt. Which of course is something none of us knew. But he said basically, and I'm going to paraphrase here, that the next time that Coca-Cola needs to get bailed out of money, that they're going to say no. He said the next time that Nike needs money, they're going to say no. The next time that the particular banks are going to, are having financial issues, we're going to say no. We're not going to bail you out of any of this anymore. Actually, Nike's in the news bad right now because their CEO, they found out that they're paying a lot of their employees like under $24,000 a year in the United States, and their CEO got $56 million.
Really? We're gonna talk about economic inequality?
So Nike is the worst culprit of that. Yeah, Nike's the worst one.
I'm sure they're not even close. Well, Bezos is paying people $15 an hour, so he's amazing, and that's why I think that we have to have conversations about the minimum wage.
Like my man Sam Sneeze said, and G's up, hoes down on doggy style. Man, fuck that.
Yo, bitch chose me.
He bitch chose me.
You know the name of the game. But the name of the game is that Ted Cruz basically admitted that, hey, you know what? He votes for what he votes for with corporations because they pay money. So because of the fact that they stay out of things and because of the fact that they don't take positions on social issues in general, but they've decided to do that now they're going to let liens expire. They're going to let tax credits expire, et cetera, because they don't want them to be engaged in politics anymore because they don't like what they're saying. So essentially,
isn't being silent on a social issue taking a position?
Not to Ted Cruz,
especially when it comes to the brutalization and disenfranchisement and murder of
not to Ted Cruz. Not to Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz
ain't that a bitch?
Stay out of it.
Ain't that a bitch?
Now I guarantee you, though, if Nike came out and said that they were going to take a pro-life stance,
oh yeah, he'd be all about it.
Ted Cruz would say they shouldn't pay taxes until 3145.
The Church of Nike.
So, and this just plays in. The reason I want to pull this up is because we talked a little bit about money in politics, and I mean, like, this just plays into that whole idea that it's just got to go. It has to go.
It's got to go the way of Teddy P. Sometimes you gotta let it go.
Sometimes you
gotta take a money TKO.
Yeah, and you got to give a money TKO to these fucks, because there's no way on earth that you can expect a politician to remain unbiased on particular issues when he has PACs coming at him from every other direction and lobbyists coming from every other direction, and the Heritage Foundation from this way and the Brookings Foundation from that way, and Alec from this direction, and saying, we want you to support this, and if you do, we will give you money. Because Ted Cruz said, you know what? I'm not taking money anymore from these particular corporations because they're too woke. So what you've basically told us, Ted Cruz, is that in the past, you took their money because they were helping you with their silence and complicity.
And just for the record, I just want to put it out there. White people ruin the word woke just like you guys ruined the dab. Like, you just totally, it doesn't mean shit no more. It's just like, as soon as the little white kids figured out what the dab was, it was dabbing at like 37,000 RPM. And it was like, that's not what the dab. All right. And we can't have nothing without y'all fucking up the whole, like, woke means everything that you don't like now. Like, that is like the definition of woke is something you don't like. So woke spending is spending you don't like. Right? Yeah, it's just, it doesn't mean, there's no exact, unless you guys have a definition for me, no one can clearly state what woke means.
I don't think that it's typical liberal / Democrat messaging, which is bad, awful, and needs a marketing manager.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
That's not even what it is. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I wasn't describing what woke is. I was describing I was describing the messaging behind woke is bad.
No, wrong. The messaging that has been promoted by certain people is wrong. Woke is old.
Very old.
Me and this man right here, we know about woke from way back in the day. We talked about being woke and understanding what's really going on around you. That's woke. Okay? That's what we've been talking about for decades.
This is not a new thing.
Motherfuckers late to the party and try to put their own slant on shit. And that's when it becomes bad. But we've been talking about this shit forever. Once again,
when it becomes popular, though, is a different thing. See, what we're talking about here is
maybe we shouldn't be letting shit become popular.
Well, the problem becomes, to my eye, that when movements like this become popular, they almost become popular because of the anti-movement against it.
Well, there's always backlash whenever there's progress, especially in the area of race.
Yeah, exactly, because it's identity politics.
Here's the thing. And I'm going to say it like this, and I'm not talking about you white people, but
too specific white
people. Here's the thing. Woke has been out in our lexicon for eons.
Yeah.
And everybody knew what it meant.
Yeah.
Then white people get a hold of it, like the dab and other shit. And
I don't know what the dab is either.
They want to put they want to make it, they want to define it themselves. They won't ask black people, hey, when you talk about woke, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
They try to use context clues and they get it wrong.
They fucking go crazy. They want to interpret it themselves without consulting the originators.
Yep.
And that's when it becomes fucked up.
So that was
it's not about popularity. It's been popular in our lexicon forever.
Are you saying woke was a black / Ebonics term? Because I had never heard it until 3-4 years ago.
Don't say Ebonics, man.
Since when is Ebonics a bad term? Since today?
Come on, man.
Okay. So when did woke become a bad term? When did woke become a term in general? Because
it's been a term forever.
It's been since like
forever, since like the 60s, man. You better wake up, man. You gotta wake up, brother, and see what's going on. You gotta wake up. You asleep. You better wake up. Get woke.
Do
you remember the movie?
Stay woke. Stay woke.
Do you remember the movie School Days?
No, I never saw it.
There you go. There you go.
Was it an
Because-
80s or 90s movie, or was it an 80s movie?
Late 80s.
Yeah,
Late
I was
80s,
not.
early 90s.
I wasn't allowed to watch movies until I got into college, but anything that was over PG, so they weren't allowed in the
Well,
house.
You should watch School Days, because at the end of the movie, what does Lawrence Fishburne yell into the screen, Mikey?
Let's stay woke.
Wake up! And they're ringing a bell. Wake the fuck up.
Is that Lawrence
Stay
Fishburne?
woke.
Was he playing the same character he was playing in Higher Learning?
No, he was a student in
Because he did the same thing in Higher Learning at the end, right?
yeah, wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
Wake the
Okay.
fuck. Spike Lee been saying that
But-
forever.
but that's I understand what you're saying. I never drew a correlation between that or
Of course not.
a dotted
Of
line
course
between
not.
that and the term woke.
Same
because
thing.
Woke to me is only like
Wake up.
something
Like
I've-
if somebody tells you, wake up, man, I'm woke.
I
What are you talking about?
I understand that part of it.
Okay, then. So then there's the correlation right there. What are you talking about?
No, because here, you see those right there? Those are called ears. There, I never drew the correlation between it. I'm talking about me because
And that's
If you
where
say-
things get fucked up. You
But
gotta
if
go
you
ask
say-
a black dude.
but yeah, but I don't have to have watched School Days in order to shape my social.
Oh, of course not. You go ask a black dude.
So,
Don't watch the movie.
It's not
Hey,
it's
what's
not-
woke?
it's not important to watch a particular one particular movie and then say,
Hey,
hey, all
Mikey,
of my
what's
social
woke?
views are based off of it.
Hey, so and so, what's woke?
But the point that I'm trying to make is that I had not heard that word in lexicon until probably about maybe the middle of the Obama term, the middle of Obama's 8 years in office. I started hearing the term woke a lot. And to me, it just meant like progressive ideologies.
No, not at all.
So I never even associated it with anything that had to do with race. I associated with liberal political views.
Because you heard it out there.
Well, I know I heard it. I heard the anti-woke movement stuff
Mhm.
about people talking about this new woke culture. And I didn't even know what it was obviously easy to figure out what they were talking about. That wasn't a difficult leap.
Mhm.
But again, I don't think that the term you're using is all that important because you can support a movement with not knowing that it was called woke. It doesn't.
Oh
make any
yeah,
difference.
I didn't say that. All I'm saying is
you're so it's something that is taught to young black people just as much as learning to tie your shoes, as much as looking both ways for you cross the street. You need to stay woke. You need to keep your head on swivel. You need to keep your eye on your surroundings. Don't be asleep to what's happening around you. Stay woke. That's
so,
been a
so
thing
Ebonics
forever.
is now. Is this true? And if so, since when?
It don't matter since when,
Ebonics
because you
has
know
always been a fucking offensive term to black people. Oh, you're
There-
speaking Ebonics? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Okay, I gotta slow you down on that. That's fine. That's fine. I don't care. I haven't used that word in. I think this is the first time I used it in 10 years. But I never heard a white person say that word before. It's always been from my black friends.
And it's probably always been fucking derogatory in a way.
I can't remember. I shouldn't say never, but I would say almost every single time I've heard it, I heard it from guys in New World.
Mm-hmm. It's probably derogatory in some way. It's like, do I got to speak fucking Ebonics to you? Something
Right.
like that.
So
That's not a cool term, dude.
And that's fine. I don't care about that term at all. I'm just saying that's a completely new one on me. I had an argument with someone the other day, and I showed you on Twitter about like I wasn't even saying that white trash was a racist term, but I was just trying to associate the term white trash with
That's just a term for close to black that's derogatory between white people.
right. When people say the term white trash, to me it's more offensive towards minorities, because what you're doing to me is you're taking a white person from the norm of white and demoting them to another caste, so to
Whoa.
speak.
What you trying to say?
What am I trying to say?
That's no. That's the thing.
That's exactly what it's doing. It's saying you don't deserve to be white. You're trash.
Yes.
White trash, just like the other
like
people
those
who are not
other
white.
those people that we are othering.
Right. So it's
And
they're all trash.
Mikey,
You're white trash.
Mikey,
So yes,
he's
I didn't
speaking.
like that
He's
term.
speaking as if he's someone who is saying that to someone. He's not speaking from his own view.
I'm done digging people out of holes. If he want to dig, shit.
I understand where you're coming, Dutch. I understand where you're coming from on that. I got you.
I sent you guys the entire thread.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, and I think I'll stand 100% behind every single thing that I said on there. I mean, but
and one thing, Patty,
but they all blocked me because I said that maybe you shouldn't say white trash anymore. Like everyone, I didn't say, oh, you're bad for saying white trash. I said, just here's something to think about with it. And I got blocked by 3 people. So anyway, let's move. Okay. So, that will do it for the audio version of the podcast. So we'll move on to one of the topics that I know that Cap wanted to talk about. He wanted to talk about 2 things. So you have some interesting military stories for us. Go ahead and give us 1 or 2 of them. We'd like to hear it. And then we get to ask you questions.
Oh, okay. I really didn't prepare any, but so I guess
I know they're right there though. They're right there.
Yeah. There's plenty of stories. No, I can tell you So when I first went in, so I was in the middle of, so I did drugs like most young people did. And I was, came out of a halfway house actually, and not a halfway house, but a rehab. My brother was in the halfway house. And trying away from Stalin. So I went and joined the military. And, so I stole some money from one of the restaurants. What I would do is I would steal money.
Hey Cap,
and I would pay it back.
Hey Cap, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. We're getting a little bit of like internet lag and all that stuff, so you're getting real choppy on us. If you don't mind, I'm gonna put you backstage for just 1 second. Just hit F5, refresh the page, and then we'll sometimes just reconnecting will patch all that stuff up. Just 1 second. F5 right there on the top there. Yep. And it'll pop you out and pop you right back in.
No, I know where an F5 is on a regular computer. I just don't have one on this one.
Old guy computer issues here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right above your number row, just that F5 feed, just to refresh the page. Or if you want to go up to the very top of the window with your mouse and just refresh the page.
Okay.
Either way.
Yep. There truly is.
Okay. All right, he'll be back in a second. He'll be right back. And Patty, you do know that my name is Mike and his name is Dutch, right? Like, I am not white.
Are we back?
There we go. Sounds great.
All right. Sounds great. Okay. So I digress. So
is the chat butthurt again? Oh, that's too bad. I don't disagree with you 100%, only 99. That's so sad. I'm heartbroken. Jesus Christ. Anyway.
Okay.
Triggered.
I feel you.
It gets really
starting to feel like you do, Mike.
It gets irritating because like you can't. I don't need a lecture. What I need is a conversation, and like being lectured at is not a conversation. So it's silly. It's just dumb. So just say, hey, you know what? Let me ask you. But I am on the show. So if you want to come on and you want to say, hey, you know what, Dutch, I don't agree with you on something, and here's why. That's one thing. Asking me a stupid ass question, like, do you like pot roast? Or why are you asking dumb questions? I'm trying to engage in a normal, rational, civil conversation and grow as a human being. And if I'm not as far off as you want me to be into your corner, I'm fucking sorry. Deal with it. Anyway, go ahead.
That's very presumptive, and that isn't having a conversation. That's literally you lecturing them for asking you a question.
No,
so you're committing the same offense that you're advocating against.
Oh, exactly. How does that feel?
That you haven't proved anything by doing what you don't like.
What is it that what is it that I need to prove?
Okay, you don't have to. You don't have
move
to
on.
You a question.
Hey,
I really want to know what is it that I need.
Cap,
what is it that I need to prove?
Cap's telling the story.
I asked a simple question about a term that I didn't know about, and people start asking me ridiculous questions that are like, oh, how could you be so stupid not to know that? If you only know what you know. If you don't know something, you don't know it. So when you come across somebody who says something that they don't know is bad, you say something to them. You say, hey, let me, this is what I think. You don't just go yell at them and tell them there's something, and put apply a label to them, which is what is happening here. So anyway, I digress.
Yes, you're digressing.
All right, we ready?
Cap,
Yes.
tell your story.
Okay. All right. So, so I was into drugs, obviously, like I said earlier, and trying to get away from the scene I was in. This is how I actually went in the military. But and I was working for, I believe, Arby's at the time, and had sold some money to do drugs.
Oh man, the cherry turnovers.
Yep. And,
I worked at
Amen.
Arby's too, man.
Yeah. The curly fries.
Oh,
So anyway, so I finally and they loved me. They were actually the guy when he all this came to light, he came to my house and was like, man, we were considering you for supervisor and those things. And anyway, they caught me with my hand in the pot. And so they had put out a warrant for my arrest. But when he came to my house, we talked about it and just said, hey man, just get help and just want you to do better. You're a great guy, et cetera, et cetera. And so this was on maybe Wednesday that he talked to me. On Friday, got a knock on the door, knock, and opened the door. Hey, are you Charles Barr? I guess I gave my name away, but yes, I am. Yep. Yes, I am. And click, off I went to jail. And I happened to be in the wrong county. So they were telling me the whole time, hey, you're not getting out till next week because we got to process you. Well, I was supposed to go in the military on Monday. Say the least, I was panicking. And
right.
Luckily, my pastor at that time kind of knew the situation. He had a good friend that was kind of, not what you know, but who you know in the police force. And they got me out that night. Yep. Got me out that night, and I went into the military on Monday. Now, the military, I tell people this all the time. So part of when I took command, I used to tell the soldiers, not that story, but I would tell them about the opportunities that we had in the military because so over 22 years, I ended up getting a bachelor's and a master's degree, paid and bought for by the Army. Became an officer. I loved everything that I did. I loved especially being in command and training soldiers and helping soldiers out. So kind of a success story, if you will, because we were talking about white trailer or white trash earlier. I lived in a trailer. I heard that term quite often.
I've seen some real nice trailers though, man.
But not back in the 70s.
Okay.
No. Did you have a water bed?
No. I had a water bed in my time. I actually had a water bed in my the first house I bought. My dad actually helped me with his GI Bill get. But yeah, that's one story. I've got others if you want another.
Let's see. Let me guide you in a certain way.
Okay.
Tell us a boot camp hazing story if you got one.
That's illegal. That's illegal. He would never ever.
Not back in the 70s.
No. It wasn't. I went in the 90s, but it was okay. Matter of fact, I got hazed. So
tried to give you some legal.
So
escape hatch.
Allegedly, I had to put out a drill sergeant when I was in command for that. But yeah, I was actually part of hazing from a drill sergeant. His name was Drill Sergeant Short, of all things, and he was small. And before I went in the Army, the one thing, even during my drug times, I always went to the gym, and I could bench quite a bit back in those days, probably around 250, 275. And so
how much did you weigh?
About 180 going into the Army. 180.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Use a little shit brick house. She was ready for action.
Yeah, but I couldn't run or do sit-ups. I actually got put in what was called the turtles back then. You couldn't call them that now, but they called the group turtles because I couldn't run 2 miles. I could barely run 1 mile without puking, but you had to pass that before you could get out of. So this guy challenges everybody to a weightlifting contest, and anybody that could beat him, got an hour off or whatever it was. I don't recall, but I ended up beating, which was a mistake because this guy just hated me after that.
Yes.
And so we did one of the things we did was a 12-mile road march out to where we would bivouac and dig foxholes, all that kind of stuff. And toward the end, I was getting real dizzy, out of shape, those kind of things. And he just kept smacking me. And then when we got there for punishment for not marching like he wanted me to, he made me do the qualify. So when you go to a range, you qualify on the range, right? So you qualify with your weapon. But you know what a koala bear does? So he makes me get up in a tree and hang upside down and qualify. And he made me like hang there for I don't know how long, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it was. But yeah, he could not stand me after that. So yeah, that was
describe exactly what qualify means.
So you're hanging. So a koala bear hangs upside down, right? Mm-hmm. So to qualify, you had to grab up in the tree, hang upside down forever. How long the drill sergeant mandated?
Did you get a nosebleed?
I didn't get a nosebleed, but I was pretty sick because I was already kind of sick.
Right.
Yep.
Ah, that's terrible.
Yeah. So, but hazing still happens. Make no mistake about it.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Make no mistake about it. It was happening. I got out in 12. It was still happening then. So.
And this was the Army?
Correct. The Army.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
So what is the most prestigious assignment or position that you had in the Army?
So I was actually the advisor to the Minister of Interior in Iraq. So I didn't even wear my greens over there. I wore a suit for the whole year. Nobody knew who I was, and that was planned.
That was of course. Yes.
And I actually met Biden. He met with the minister. I met many of folk, Hillary Clinton. Those type of people. And so I was his military advisor. He also had obviously Iraqi advisor. He was from Australia. He was a GS-15 advisor. So we kind of all gave him advice on our expertise, whatever that field might be.
Okay.
Which was pretty unique. What happened was it was a colonel slot. I was a captain at the time. And, but they thought the minister's position was going away, but he actually shortly after I got there, he started running for prime minister, and they were going to replace me. But this prime minister really liked me because I gave him, just straightforward advice. Whereas I think the other guy gave probably advice that benefited the Army or, because you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars being spent by them that we gave them, by the way. So, yeah, very shady stuff. That's kind of what I was telling Dutch there earlier about some of the stories where it was sketchy because I tried to report one of them and I was told to stay in my lane by a 2-star general. A lot of money. Yeah. It scared me. It really scared me because they can ruin you quickly.
Right.
Yep.
With Biden committing to pulling out the troops, you're out of the service now. So good idea, bad idea. Do it not publicly or just do it on your own. Like, how do you think he's handling things so far?
As far as that specific or overall?
That's specific and then overall. Okay.
So, listen, I think things remain the same as long as we're there, meaning, we change it a little bit. But I personally seen that as soon as you walk away, things go right back to the thing. I don't think we can police the world forever. So I actually liked that. I like that he did that. I also, I can get into the waste of the military because it's crazy. So you'd be surprised that
give us a wasteful example.
So in command, you get X amount of dollars to spend on supplies, for example. And when you get close to the end of fiscal year, which is October for us, if you hadn't spent your money, they tell you, from the upper levels, hey, you need to go spend all that money on whatever, because there's excess money that you can get and ask for. And if you don't, they'll cut your money for the next year. So that everybody always wanted this extra money. And so you were forced to go spend money where it really wasn't needed. And this, you got to think, I'm just a battery commander. I'm at the lowest level of command, and the echelons above. And, you've seen stories where they bought hammers for $600.
Yeah.
Those are true
Independence
stories. Even though those were on Facebook, that's a true story. Yeah.
So what is your how do we combat that? How do we prevent that from happening? Is it, hey, guess what? If you don't spend X amount of dollars, instead of cutting for next year, we'll keep you at the same amount so that we're not trying to overspend. Yeah. Not threatening to cut you back, but to let you say, okay, so we allocated $1 million and you spent $970,000. So next year, instead of allocating $970,000, we'll still allocate you the $1 million, because costs rise over the years and things like that. Anyway, and then if you get to a point where you're at a deficit, then we'll expand it instead of just arbitrarily trying to expand this funding.
So they have a program. When you come up with a good idea, you can win, $200 or whatever if the Army uses it.
Oh, great.
Et cetera, et cetera. But what I like about that, or what I think should be done, is if you save $30,000 in some way, maybe you get a bonus for your battery and it gets broken down all the way down to the lowest level, something like that. But you incentivize actually saving money, but at the same time, making sure your mission gets done.
No, if you come in under budget, you get a set of Bose speakers.
There you go. Hey man, I would have come under budget. I learned that in the restaurant business.
Man, I'm talking about, you would have had like a whole line of subwoofers.
Hey man,
Bose might put you over budget then.
You missed it. That was going to be my bonus.
His whole kit would just be like, all right, so there's the Bose couch. It's just a bunch of speakers that I put up a couple of cushions on, and there you have the Bose Entertainment Center, which, as you guessed, is just speakers.
Yeah. The Bose My Pillow.
The floor is made mostly out of 8x10s and 5x9s that I have layered on top of each other. The whole kit would have been Bose.
The civilian sector. The civilian sector is just as bad. I worked as a GS 7. I was fixing to be a 9 in 2 months, and I walked away from that for various reasons. Mostly, they just had me sitting at a computer like I'm doing now, doing nothing. But there's waste, and the thing was the woman, her and I did the FA side, she did the ADA, field artillery, air defense artillery, and the fact was she or I could have done both jobs. So and you're thinking to yourself, okay, this isn't the only incident where money's being wasted, and they didn't even backfill my job. I think they made it into a secretary for the general or something crazy like that. So it's just, there's a lot of money being wasted,
Yeah, I think I'm not a big government spending for military products, because I've had, 7 friends deploy, and all they talk about is how it's like, yo, dude, they gave me fucking like this $50 thing that I used one time and I threw it away. Like, it's like I didn't even really need it, but they told me I had to use it. And like, just like while they're deployed, how much money they waste on shit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, come on, y'all. Like, I get you want these Halliburton contracts, but goddamn, dude, like, can we not just waste the money? And if you're just going to send them over there to waste money, might as well keep their ass here. Keep them here. Let these young boys grow up. Don't put them over in the desert to get shot at. Like that's especially when it's
blown up with
unnecessary
roadside bombs.
And it's not even like they're not even winning a thing. It's just you're just putting them over there in harm's way to just continually agitate a population that doesn't really want us there in the first place. Yeah. And it's not like we don't have 1 trillion nukes and 1,000 aircraft carriers to deal with a problem if it gets out of hand. So
and topple a government
and drones.
Yeah. Well,
drone
there's
wars.
Listen, in defense of the military, I will say that there's logistical reasons why we're in certain places that need to be there. So yeah, I mean, just same as the blue red thing there. There's a middle ground for, I think that the smart people up above us could agree on, but they won't, right? So it's constant. And listen, it's a platform that the Republicans run on, right? So it's and they get everybody built up about that. But
it's their first wedge issue.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think we all could agree on, that hey, we do need defense, but we don't need to waste the amount that we're wasting, and we can spend on social issues or however we agree that we're going to spend on those things.
Or protecting gun rights. Awesome. So I appreciate that. So I want to.
I brought this in here with me just because I knew you were going to talk about that about 100 times. Go ahead.
Well, we are all.
I wish I had known. I'd have brought my liberal gun, my liberal six hour with me.
That's just a tiny 380.
This is the least anti-gun show you'll find. We are anti-gun violence and anti-irresponsibility with guns.
Agree.
But not. And definitely, we think people should have some sort of psychological testing.
Oh yeah,
but
you come up in here, you're gonna catch a lead infection.
Yeah. So I want to move this along to a little bit of a sports related topic. So there's a big story right now, guys, in sports with a gentleman who plays for the Green Bay Packers, and I'll just share this real quick. Aaron Rodgers is calling people Jerry Krause. I didn't even know that Jerry Krause was the GM of the Packers. All right, he's not. I know it's a joke. I know it's a joke. But the way, like, that's the best. Isn't that the best? Like, I had no idea Jerry Krause was in charge of the Packers.
I think that goes back to Mikey's point of don't get your information from media.
That is hilarious.
So
hilarious. Wait. Scroll back up to the top. Scroll back up to the top real quick.
It says, for those who can't say, it says report. Aaron Rodgers called Packers GM Jerry Krause with teammates, told potential free agents he'd be gone in 2021. So
boy.
So here is the topic. Athletes, Aaron Rodgers is the latest one. There's a lot of people taking issue with athletes dictating the direction of teams and what the front office should do and wanting input on decisions. Right before the sexual misconduct allegations, just Deshaun Watson was going through this. LeBron James has gone through this. Cal Ripken Jr. with the Orioles was probably the first one to do this with the Orioles back in the 80s. He was hugely critical of a lot of draft picks and stuff that were taken by the Orioles, especially when they took a shortstop. He hated that because that was his position. But it's gone on through history. Jordan did it very under the radar. What is your guys' thoughts on, like, are the cooks running the kitchen right now? Is that good? Is that bad? Is that indifferent? What are your guys' thoughts on star athletes dictating team direction to ownership?
I think this. Here's the thing. My man Shannon Sharp said it the best. He said he had a coach who said, I'm going to treat you all fairly, but I'm going to treat you differently. Aaron Rodgers is not Nick Foles. So if you are going to draft a quarterback in the first round of the draft, you give him a heads up because it's Aaron fucking Rodgers. It's not Nick Foles. Okay? That is one of the sources of the issue. I am Aaron Rodgers. I have won multiple MVPs. I've taken to a Super Bowl. I've won a Super Bowl. I've done a whole lot for this team. You know, don't draft a quarterback unbeknownst to me and then call me and say, don't you be the fucking problem. Who you talking to? You just got here. You know what I'm saying? So I think of it like this. For a long time, and we see this in corporate America, we see this in the public a lot. There's a lot of people who are struggling and living check to check that bend over backwards to defend companies that don't want to pay $15 an hour. And if the executive board would say, okay, I'm going to have one less Bentley, one less 75-foot yacht, and one less extra house in the Hamptons, so we can pay these our employees $25 an hour, that could happen. It's not about the products not being sustainable if we're paying a wage of $15 an hour or something like that. It's about we want to keep our piece of the pie as it is. But same thing with star players or players trying to dictate where they're going. Because guess what? Players want to win. Players want to win. The year that they picked, they drove the year after they almost went to the Super Bowl. They're only a couple of pieces away from getting to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. So what do? Instead of drafting some of those pieces to get you into the Super Bowl contention, you draft a quarterback who's going to sit. That's not helping you win now. You know where Aaron Rodgers is in his career. He's approaching the twilight of his career. He's still up there, very high level performing. He wants to win another ring. He wants to be in contention. This dude that you moved up to get does not help us get into contention. So I think of it like this. For a long time, players didn't have power. You know, and we see the owners have abused that. Coaches abuse that. GMs abuse that. But now players, especially in the NFL, now in the NBA, it's a lot different, but players in the NFL see what's going on in the NBA and they want to have that type of power as well. And I think that is deserved because they are the ones out there getting broke up. And when they get hurt, if they get hurt and can't play, their contract isn't guaranteed. That they're going to get a buyout. They're going to get an injury buyout, which is a portion of what they would have gotten. And they're playing the most violent sport in the land. And they play this sport for money and to win. And these players, especially star players, they want to be in situations where they can win. These are apex competitors out there. And they want to be in a position to win. And what Aaron Rodgers is saying is this. If you're not going to put us in a position to win, if you're going to do things that don't put us in a position to win, especially in the waning years of my career, I'd rather be out of there. And especially if you're going to disrespect me in the process and not even say, hey, we're picking a quarterback. You know, it's Aaron Rodgers, not Nick Foles, not Nate Sudfeld, not freaking Mitchell Trubisky. You know what I mean? These are people, these are players who have put it on the line and shown and proved their value. And they deserve to have some respect and possibly, yes, some input into the personnel decisions.
So so 50% of me was cheering you on because that's how half of I feel, and the other half is like, shut the fuck up.
I love it, Cap.
So
bringing a dog out in Cap right now.
So I teeter back and forth because I and maybe this is just old school. I feel as an employee, because that's what they are, right? They're employees. Yeah. I think they've, yeah. So I struggle, right? Because I agree with you. Like the owners, they take advantage of them. They have for years, and they finally, especially like you said in the NBA, they finally got in power, and they're able to sway some things. So I'm not mad at them for that. But the part of me that, you know, because I was in the military, yes sir, and I moved on with a bunch of decisions I fucking hated.
Yes.
You know, I just want to tell him, kind of like you're saying, dude, you make $100 and something million, go do your fucking job. So listen, I'm just being candid. That half of me feels exactly what you just said, right? Exactly, because it's right. There's nothing wrong with what you said, but and then the other half of me sways to, you know.
But,
I
but that's
understand.
that's the thing though, because the owners and the guys up in the offices, they're making way more than the players,
That's right. Yeah, sure.
and they ain't doing a damn thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So if it comes down to it, I don't really care if you think you got the pieces I need or if you think you got this grandiose plan. Consult me, since I'm the one going out there on the field, also making big bucks, just like you're making big bucks.
Yeah.
Consult me, and then maybe I can do some things that help the process.
Like
as opposed to,
if I'm tired of getting sacked, you know, and there's a guard that would be great and possibly help our running game and our passing game, and you pick a freaking quarterback that's going to sit for 2 years,
right?
And in the process, not tell me about it, and pretty much ensure that I'm still going to get sacked and our running game is going to be shit.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a little pissed off about that.
I only push back on it a little bit because of two reasons. Well, it was a second round pick, not a first, which is still ridiculous. I'm pretty.
No, they picked that dude in the first round.
It's a 27th pick, wasn't it?
Oh no, you're right. I'm thinking of Jordan. You're right. I'm thinking of Jordan Love with or Jalen Hurts with Philadelphia.
Yes. That's a different thing.
That was the other guy that probably shouldn't have gotten picked by the team that took him.
Why? Obviously, they moved on from Wentz.
Yeah, but at the time, nobody knew that was going to happen. Apparently, they knew something that we didn't know, because they had just spent first round capital on Wentz 3 years before that.
Well, they spent the money, but if you watch Wentz play, you could see that there were problems with him.
Wentz had a lot of flashes of good and a lot of flashes of bad.
Hey, and that's my man. Also, that's my man from Oklahoma. Come on now.
Now, but also here's the problem. In addition to his inconsistency on the field, he was somewhat aloof, conceited, and arrogant in the locker room.
Now we know that.
It was not conducive to building a team around him, because it was hard for people to follow him, because it was polarizing in the locker room.
That's a fair point. And there's, I mean, all these guys are prima donnas in a way to, you know, they're wide receivers. I think I mentioned earlier in the group chat, like wide receivers get the bad rap for being divas, but
quarterbacks are the biggest.
Quarterbacks have them destroyed. You know, they're absolutely destroyed. You know, and it's pretty much every one of them. You know, I will say though that I do think that Rodgers has every right to do this. I think LeBron has every right to do this when he does it. I think that Deshaun Watson has every right to do it when he wants to. And I think that it should be done more by top performers at regular companies, because top performers at regular companies, you know, people who are more like have a position of importance within, you know, the capitalist structure of companies, they can be the voice, maybe not for, you know, like Rodgers, he wants to win, obviously. So that it's slightly different. But, you know, if I still want my company to win, but I want us to be able to bring people who are at the bottom up to higher levels within the company. I want the company to be able to expand and the company to be able to become, you know, have a further reach out into the community and do more community engagement and do, you know, more things for social issues and do more things to try to promote our brand to companies that we don't always already have a relationship with and show them, you know, who we are, what we do, and where we do it, which is generally the main things that people want to know what you do when they find your company. And if you're only beholden to your stockholders and you're only beholden to, or if it's a smaller company and you're only beholden to the owner or the top executives in the company, ESOPs are a good thing, right? Like this is one of the reasons why I really support ESOPs. But I think that more companies, more people who are top performers in their companies should feel empowered and emboldened at the right times to say, hey, look, this is the direction I think we should go, whether it's about their web presence or their community engagement or whatever the case may be, as long as it's being done. Now, where the NFL players and the NBA players and the Major League Baseball players and the hockey players get it wrong sometimes is they just say, well, fuck you, I'm going to hold out if you don't do it my way.
Why not? Why is that bad?
Well, it's bad if it's the first reaction. What we don't always know is what happens behind closed doors before we get to this point.
But I was going to say that about Aaron Rodgers. We don't know, to your point, we don't know only because I watched The Bachelor with my daughter and wife, that he doesn't get along with his family. So I can't imagine what those relationships are there. And maybe they've asked him, hey, are you retiring anytime soon? And they can't get an answer. And they go, hey, we got to prepare for the future. So we don't know a lot of things. We're speculating on a lot of things, right? That's why I say I kind of get 50-50. If I had more information, I could probably slide to one side or the other.
Okay.
Yeah. Let them just let the players do what they want to do, because I think the NFL is going to start turning into the NBA pretty soon, and that makes me very happy because I want all the power to go to the players. They should be able to have some vote in what happens with them in their careers. So if LeBron wants to play with AD and 17 other superstars, and then Kevin Durant and Kyrie want to fucking draft their whole team of Monstars to go against the Toon Squad, it's fucking good entertainment. And that's the whole point of this anyway. Sports are not actually important. They're just there to be entertaining. You know what I mean? Like they don't actually decide the fate of things. So
unless you're doing it on the Lakers, you shouldn't have done it on the Lakers. You should have gone to like the Bulls.
But if you're Michael Jordan, you don't need other players because you're the best player ever to play the game.
Until them Detroit Pistons started fucking retiring because it was fucking little baby Mike.
Yeah, but that was back when the NBA was WrestleMania.
Yeah, but little baby Mike weighed 190.
He got big.
He weighed 190.
He had to hit that gym because it was fucking his little ass up.
That's right.
He was 6'6", 190 when he was little baby Mike. I don't know what he was later in his career, but I'm gonna guess he was 220
or
230.
So,
yeah.
No. Yeah, so, that like the heaviest he ever played was like when he was on the Wizards, and that was like 235 or something like that. He was never like that. 30 pounds is 30 pounds of muscle, but still, he didn't have Craig Hodges. Is that who was going to help him? Who was on the fucking Parish? Like
Sean Paxton.
No, before they started winning. No, Parish played for the Bulls.
Yeah, he did.
Did you guys ever see the story on Craig Hodges? How he was like one of the first players to stand up for
he got blackballed.
He said, "Get your ass right the fuck out of here."
Yeah, that was for social justice. He was like one of the first ones to like protest.
Him and like Abdul Mahmoud Raouf.
Sharif Abdul Rahim.
No. Mahmoud Abdul Raouf, Chris Jackson.
Oh, yeah, Chris Jackson from LSU.
Yes.
Yeah. And he became what was his name?
He played for Denver.
Yeah.
Mahmoud Abdul Raouf. That was what he changed his name to when he converted to Islam.
Rauf is his last name.
Why doesn't that strike a bell with me?
Because you remember Chris Jackson.
No, I remember he changed this. I definitely remember he changed. Yeah, he was part of the Three Amigos. Yeah, with Kenny Anderson and someone else who I'm forgetting. But I didn't remember that he changed. I knew he changed his name, but I didn't. That name you just said for some reason isn't striking the bell. But that's not important.
Mahmoud Abdul Raouf. Yeah.
Yeah,
he was like prototype Steph Curry.
Yeah, that dude could shoot, and he had a tick. He had a tick too, but he could shoot his ass off.
I don't know if it was Tourette's or if he had what's it called?
Oh, he didn't have Tourette's, but he had a tick.
It's like a perfection kind of thing. OCD. He had severe OCD. So
he had a twitch as well. But he would just sit there and be in the gym all night because he had to hit 50 in a row.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I mean, accidentally his muscle memory became incredible, and his shot was
Pure.
très magnifique.
I do, circling back a little bit. I do though. I personally, I don't like the super teams. They make the NBA.
There have been super teams forever. When you think about it, there have been super teams forever.
They're kind of have. To me, the first super team to me was the Lakers in the 70s. But the first one, and then the Bulls were definitely a super team. But the difference with those teams, with the exception of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all of the Lakers, because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came over from another team, I believe.
The Bucks.
Wilt Chamberlain came over from another team.
Wilt Chamberlain came from another team. That's not Kareem.
He came from the Bucks.
Correct.
Well, was it when the Bucks? Was it? Well, the Lakers used to play in Minneapolis, though. So
yeah, but Kareem was on the Bucks.
That's Milwaukee, bro.
He was on the Bucks.
He played for the Bucks.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not, because one of those guys came from another team. But a lot of these teams, like the Cubs in 2016, the Warriors of who won a couple of titles, the Royals of like 2015, the Patriots back in 2000, the year 2000, the Rams in 2000, a lot of these teams that won, the Ravens in 01, I seem to like respect more a little bit the ones who built their teams mostly through drafting the star players and then signing those pieces that were the right fit, like the Bulls were so good at doing back in the 90s during that dynasty. Rodman was a big signing, but he replaced Horace Grant, so they, Horace was really the original piece of that three-headed monster. And Rodman was probably better than Horace Grant in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Except when he was going to WWF matches or WCW matches. But
hey, something was funny about that? Did you watch The Last Dance? He made $250,000 for that. And he got fined $50,000, so he cleared $200,000 on that.
Worth it. But Rodman was one of those we have not seen a player like Rodman because he's crazy and he's silly and zany and he does shit that doesn't make sense to us. It's weird, right?
Then he gets on the court.
But this is the same dude who would fucking show up to the fucking game, fucking 20 minutes before shoot around, eating Chinese food, fucking play a whole game with 2 overtimes, and then while they're having the debrief after the game, we'll be sitting there on the treadmill, still.
He's on the bike.
He's on the bike doing his thing, just still fucking going. Like his conditioning was insane. We ain't never seen somebody with conditioning like Dennis Rodman. But just because he didn't score any points, he wasn't really thought of as somebody who was an excellent player. But Draymond would probably be the closest thing to a Dennis Rodman, where his intangibles are so off the charts that you can't not have him on your squad. Like if you don't have a Draymond on your team, you're really selling yourself short.
Yeah, Rodman's effort level was infectious too, and it married right up with Jordan's as well. So
that's why Jordan put up with this shit, man, because he loved Rodman. The Last Dance told it all, right? Yeah, just like, hey, we put up with this shit because
he would go out there and give you his soul.
Exactly.
And he would go find whoever their star was and be hey, what's up, man?
Yeah.
What's up? What's up, man?
I'm gonna grab your left butt cheek in a minute.
You know what I love? I love Rodman and Mike Tyson kind of for the same reason. I mean, just real, pure, honest guys that just wear all of their shit on their sleeves and just good guys and just I have a thing for both those guys about just being. You can't find 2 more real guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, they'll tell you exactly what's on their mind.
Yeah.
But do you guys think that that these guys how far do you think that it's appropriate for these star players to go, when the team is unsuccessful in getting the team to be better? For example, let's say that Houston hadn't fucked up their entire team by trading all their players away and all their draft players and all their draft picks away, but say hey, you know what, I'm going to try to sign this free agent. The Bulls are a great example of this, because if you remember in 2000, maybe it was around 2001. Remember they were trying to sign Tracy McGrady, and like they rolled out the red carpet for Tracy McGrady. They had him throwing the first pitch at the Cubs game. You know, they gave him like a tour of the city. I think he went to every strip club. You know, they just totally rolled out the King's treatment for Tracy McGrady, and Tracy McGrady went to the Raptors. And then at that point in time, a lot of the players on the Bulls got disgruntled. You know, I think that was the Elton Brand team. You know, right around the time they drafted Jerry Williams and Elton Brand and all those guys. And a lot of those players got disgruntled because they were like, you know, the team's not able to bring people in the town, and then those players wanted out. So, you know, in an NFL atmosphere, those guys could sit out under those circumstances. Say, well, you tried to get the guy, but you didn't get him. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not sure I would be a huge fan of that reaction to that. But I do think that in general, I agree with Mikey and you guys in that, you know, I think that in all business, including sports, it should be about the people on the lower levels. And I know that stars and top performers at businesses are the ones who have the voice and the platform to be able to say things. But I do think that there is a line where it goes too far as well, though. So I'm not sure where that line is at.
But then I got to listen to people complain about, like, for decades it's been, well, it's not fair. Zion should have went to the Knicks, and the Knicks need somebody, and then it's like, oh, and now the Pelicans need somebody. Oh, and the Jazz need somebody.
So draft him.
Hey man, did you see Zion the other day? He's going to the Knicks. He loves the Knicks.
But that's the thing. Over time, the players will go where they want to go.
Right.
If you try to force them to go to places, what ends up happening is they just wait until that first, the 3 or 4 year rookie contract is up, and they're the fuck out of there. The Bulls have been doing that for years, where we keep drafting these kids and then shipping them off after we develop them.
And they get better.
When they get better, or we skip the kids who actually want to be somewhere, and then the fact that we traded fucking Wendell Carter for fucking Valanciunas when we had a shot at getting Michael Porter Jr. in the same fucking draft is baffling to me. And he is out there killing it in Utah right now, and we're over here looking like a bunch of fools with this little scrub squad that we got. Ugh.
All right, all right. So there we go. Nice little bit of sports talk there. We got to get to the humidor. I know Haas is excited for a cigar. So before we do that, though, we play a game here. Prank one, marry one, snap one. Captain, I don't know if you've heard this part of the show before. We're going to give you 3 people. One of them you're going to prank call, one of them you're going to marry, and one of them you are going to snap away out of existence. Not kill, snap. Big Haas, the first person.
Captain Marvel from Captain Marvel.
I'm going to go with Demi Moore, but G.I. Jane Demi Moore.
Okay. I take it you have both, both references so far.
I do.
Okay.
He listening?
I am going to give you Vice President Kamala Harris.
God, you still can't say it. Kamala.
I did it just to trigger you.
No, you did not. No, you didn't. You thought about it before you said, you're like, fuck,
No.
which one is it?
Vice President Kamala Harris.
You guys made this easy on me. I'm going to marry Demi. That's for damn sure.
Okay.
And
how can you not?
And what were the other 2? I get to snap one out and
Captain. Yeah, you snap one and then you prank call one.
Brie Larson, Captain Marvel.
I'd prank call Kamala.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you would snap Captain Marvel out of existence into another universe.
I'd probably like to snap Kamala out of existence, but I'd like to at least say something to her, so I'd like to have that chance.
Oh, wow.
I'm not a fan.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So real quick before we do the humidor,
fellow. I had to kill you.
I pulled the stats for Mahmoud Abdul Rauf and Steph Curry. You can tell how the league has changed. The 3-point shots attempted.
Oh my God.
And Steph Curry's not done yet. But I think they're at about the same amount of years. For Rauf, it was $1,339, so right around $1,500. Steph Curry's at $6,500.
Jesus. Yeah.
Jeez.
The man, the legend.
And his so 3-pointers made is 474 for Rauf. Steph Curry has made 2,800 3-pointers.
Good Lord.
Jesus.
Look at the joy. Look at the joy though on Mikey's face when he gets to talk basketball. The one time a year we let him do it.
I like basketball. I don't care for
God.
football.
I love both, so I could talk either one.
I haven't watched an NBA game in
I'm a
5
Celtics
years.
fan, so
College basketball.
whatever that
Love it.
means.
I am 2 people away from what's my light skinned man? What's his back? Oh God, I can't think of his fucking name now. I want to call him
What
Is
team
it
you talking
Kamala?
about?
Tatum.
What team?
Jason Tatum.
Jason Tatum?
I'm 2 people away from him.
Kevin Bacon is Kevin Bacon in the middle.
His family member played college ball with my older sister.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sweet.
So there.
All right, so let's.
He was at the
by
game.
and by the way, I totally didn't try to trigger you there. It's going to take me a long time to get her name right. The music, please, sir.
I have the pleasure now to introduce who I believe is one of the baddest motherfuckers in the world.
Welcome to the Humidor with Big Haas. Find out what Haas is puffin' and drinking today. If you try his suggestion and you die, that is natural selection, and the VFU podcast is not responsible for you being weak effing sauce. Now, the one, the only, Big Haas.
I'm not on drugs.
Big House.
How's everybody doing today?
What are you drinking? What are you smoking?
Well, what I was smoking, not what I am smoking, because that's what's left.
Is that you need a roach clip for that bad boy?
I need a stick. If anybody wants to donate to get me a cigar stick,
Look who's excited.
That would be grateful. I'll be very grateful for that. Hey, Jenna.
Somebody's excited.
But listen, so in a rare,
we lost Cap. Where'd he go? It must have had an internet issue.
He might have had to go, but that's okay. So this is a first for the Humidor. I've actually the cigar is no more. It's done. So I'm going to give the Humidor without actually puffing on the smoke, but I can give you a pretty good Humidor on this. This is a very special cigar. Number one, it is a theme cigar. It's a cigar blended for Black History Month. And then 2, it is a cigar that was collaborated on by 2 different cigar brands, Black Star Line Cigars and Epic Cigars. 2 pretty good brands, okay? My favorite from Black Star Line is the War Witch, but this is a really good cigar. I'm going to read to you the story, the backstory for context of this cigar, since it was for Black History Month and it was a collaboration between an up-and-coming brand, Black Star Line, and a brand that's pretty established in Epic Cigars. So, reading from the text, Black Star Line Cigars and Epic Cigars have announced.
Let's have Cap read from the text.
Teaming up for a project to support Black History Month. The cigar is appropriate, called the Black History Month cigar. It's a cigar that will be sold exclusively through Privada Cigar Club. So it's a lot of plugging going on here. As part of the project, Privada Cigar Club will be donating $10,000 to a student to be announced at the Racine, Wisconsin YMCA. The Black History Month cigar is a Nicaraguan, Puro, highlighted by a Habano wrapper. It's only available in 1 Vitola. It is a 6-inch by 52 ring gauge Figurado. Okay, only about 1,500 of these cigars were produced, and there were no details released as far as profile and things like that. Now we get to myself. I, upon lighting the cigar and taking first puffs, blast the pepper right off the bat, reminding me of the War Witch with that pepper. It would be, I'm almost to the point where I can really distinguish between black pepper and white pepper, but I'm not there yet. So I'm not going to say whether it's black or white pepper, but it's very peppery, very spicy in the beginning. I got, as I smoked, a woodsy note, a little bit of like not a dark chocolate, but like a cocoa with a little bit of nuttiness, like something pretty semi-sweet, but had a little bit of earth on it. And there's a little bit like, well, with what I had it paired with, I made a grape Kool-Aid. And coincidentally enough, it wasn't any grape in it. Okay, I call it grape. I made purple drink because I
want that purple stuff.
I made purple drink. And what I did was I took clear American black raspberry sparkling juice, right? And I mixed it with Old Smoky blackberry moonshine on ice in a highball glass. And it was phenomenal. It tasted like I'm going to use the term that it tasted like a purple wine candy or Jolly Rancher. We call them in South Side Chicago. We call them wine candy. But when I take a sip of that and take a puff, I get a little bit more sweetness coming out of the cigar that I was not getting when I was smoking it without taking a drink. Pretty good burn. It burned kind of quick. And I'm not sure if that's a characteristic of the cigar or I didn't let it acclimate enough, etc., etc. It's a figurado, but it had a torpedo type shape to it. So the end was narrow, the cap was pointed, and I did a V cut there. Looking back, I may not V cut the next one because I have a few of these. But I may not V cut the next one. I might do a slanted straight cut instead of the V because I think I got into the cap and it started to unravel on me a little bit up there. But that's my fault because I used the Colibri deep V cut, and sometimes you get that V is pretty deep, and you'll pause and you'll sometimes you'll cut the cap.
Double pause on that one.
Cut the cap off. I don't know how much
you dare cut cap off. He's been very nice.
You can see there's a nice chocolate brown complexion. It was really smooth. Not as there wasn't as much of. Last week I had a cigar that had a little bit oilier sheen. It was not as not in appearance. It wasn't like that, but it's still very good construction. Pretty good even burn line, if you can see there. So it was not like it was a big wave. I didn't have to touch it up too much. It stayed lit pretty well. It burned pretty smooth and consistently throughout the cigar. As you can tell, I'm all the way down to the end here, down by the cap. And that's a sign of a great cigar when you can get yourself all the way down towards the end and it not get too the tobacco didn't get bitter or anything like that. It didn't superheat. It stayed really consistent all the way through. The drink brought out a little bit of a different profile. I'm glad I paired that because the cigar is a medium to full, and you can still find it on Privada Club and buy some if you want to support Black History Month and indirectly contribute to the scholarship for a young student. But really great cigar. I liked it a lot. It burns a little fast for my taste. I'd like it to be a little bit, but that also could be maybe how I was smoking it. But I didn't think I was smoking any different than other cigars. I just thought it might have burned a little quickly. But that's okay because I know now when I can smoke that cigar, I'll smoke that cigar, not when I'm trying to have a long drawn out smoke, but maybe just an hour an hour smoke, and that for most people that's a long smoke. But I like
That's way
smoke,
too long for me.
you know. But I like a cigar that
Pause.
2.5 hours, maybe even 3. But they got to put in overtime. No, I'm just playing. But it's a good cigar. Like maybe if I'm just sitting out, kind of hanging out a little bit, but I got somewhere to be later, and I can't smoke a cigar when I'm there. You know. So on the leaf meter, I would give that a 4.3. 4.3.
Ay, caramba.
But it's a good cigar. I advise anybody go out there and grab it, check it out. And you're doing it for a good cause. You know, head out to Bravada Club and check it out. Oh my!
I got to trim that one down a little bit. That one's for my.
Yeah, trim down the.
I got to trim the music out.
Yeah.
But
and our sponsor Manscaped, when you need to trim down here.
That is our old sponsor, Manscaped. I think they gave us a total of about $60.
Oh, great!
But hey, $60 it is. Mikey, you got let's ask for some money, and if you don't mind, sir. And Cap, thank you, by the way.
All right,
for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Enjoyed it.
We'll get. We'd love to have you back on sometime if you're interested, and talk about some more. I know we were kind of going to talk more about some of the status of the Republican Party, but guess what? We didn't get to it. So maybe we'll get to that.
Yeah, we have to have you back
for that. Got almost 4 years for that.
Let's go 4 more years. But Mikey will ask for some money, and then Haas's final thoughts.
I don't really mean to ask for money, but if you guys really enjoy well-researched independent media as opposed to just listening to Uncle Bob on Facebook, head over to patreon.com/digonamerica. All your pledges help. All the little coins add up to make. See you later, Cap. Make it so that we can do this easier and easier every week, and gets us out in front of more people when we're able to, get microphones and cameras that work, and then we can actually go into we can enlist Dutch into a Microsoft class so he can learn how to use Word documents, so he can have the whole thing on one screen. It's okay, Dutch. I had to dig you back. But yeah, patreon.com/digonamerica.
Oh, there's a first.
/digonamerica. And once we hit that $100 goal, we're going to donate a third of that over to the charity of the Patron's Choice. I think we got lined up next is Marfans, and then Marfans or John Ritter Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't think of who the next one was. But yeah, we got them lined up and ready to go, but we got to
have John Ritter Foundation. We have one that I want to remember Haas Homeboy Incorporated from it was the program that helped the convicts.
Yes, I remember that.
That one, and then we'll do something with autism and something for the troops. How about that?
Okay.
I don't know why we're giving money. I don't know why we're giving money to the troops when we have a fucking $690 billion military budget.
That's a great point. We should do? We should do it for
prevention of veteran suicide.
Yeah, I'd rather give money to get them counselors and get them mentally where they want to and need to be, as opposed to us just giving money to people who can just manage the money for it's all a big fucking, like, you want to talk about getting the money out of politics? Let's get the fucking money out of the military, and let's stop fucking fleecing these young men and putting them in situations just so that we can justify this ridiculous amount of spending that we do.
Well, but I agree with every word of what you just said. Unfortunately, none of that money goes to them afterwards.
Right. Yeah, because the VA, I'm looking here, is like $28 billion. Out of the 705 billion, 28 of it goes to, or 228.
It should be 150.
No, it says military spending includes $228 billion for defense-related departments. These include Homeland Security, the State Department, and Veterans Affairs. I know Veterans Affairs is not getting a third of that.
Yeah,
and that's
I don't even know what is Veterans Affairs. Like
the VA, that's when they can go to the hospital, they can see counselors if they need any job training. That's what the VA is supposed to do. They're supposed to take care of them after they have deployed or after they have been decommissioned. So like when guys they retire, like Caps retires so forever, he can always go to the doctor for free because he served. And that's the whole point of the VA. But it's so mismanaged and it's so underfunded that a lot of people, some of my friends who deployed included, not only was it taking them months, like 6 months to get an appointment, but also their benefits were so delayed. He waited about 2 or 3 years. I think it was about 2.5 years that he waited before they just dropped him with like a $10,000 check. And it's
I didn't know that
too
was part of the
fucking
VA.
late. Yeah, it's too late at that point. It's way too late. So now other companies and stuff are trying to fill in the gap, but it's like, no, this is a government problem where they're spending too much and they're not spending it where it needs to go. They're buying new fucking fighter jets, but meanwhile the teenagers that you dropped off in the sandbox who are all fucked up and need some help, they can't get the help because we have to build another F-22.
Right, and that's precisely the reason why I think that those are charities that we should help. But we can discuss that at a later date. I think that I agree with you though that out of $700 billion,
705.
Is it 705? I thought it was more than that, but 705. Can we allocate 1/3 of that entire dollar amount to taking care of folks who serve the country and helping them with job placement and PTSD, perhaps?
Mm-hmm.
And not just giving them cop jobs because they haven't been psychologically decompressed yet. They still have a lot of baggage. Because the guy who blew away that kid in Vegas, who was like telling him, he's giving him all them crazy commands and telling him to crawl and put your hands on your head and then crawl on your knees and do all the shit. That guy was a vet.
Did you see the one about the old lady the other day that was finally released? She was like 65 years old.
Yeah, they threw her on the ground.
Dragged her out by her hair.
Oh yeah, that's older though. That's a couple years old, I thought.
Yeah, it's a couple years old, but they just released the body cam footage like 2 days ago.
That's the going trend. That's what we do around here. So let's not support that, but let's support Dig on America instead.
Yeah. And you can Haas, what you got?
Well, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. And I want to talk about my two favorite teachers. My Grandma Brown on my dad's side and my Grandma Collins on my mama's side. My Grandma Brown, God rest her soul, she taught for 44.5 years. And she taught in the classroom, and then she taught me at home and in the classroom because I had the opportunity of sitting in her class and watch her teach 5th grade. And I was maybe in 3rd grade or 4th grade sometimes. And to watch her sift through the ways of motivating, sift through the ways of teaching and getting through to a kid and understanding that, oh yeah, I've got 34 kids in my class, but I got to use 33 different ways to motivate them, to get them to want to learn, to get them to respond. You know what I mean? And that helped me so much in my career as a trainer because just today I'm out there and I've got 12 kids sitting in front of me and I've got to use 10 different ways of motivating them and helping them to do the things they need to do, become better athletes. And I know I could trace that directly back to my grandma, especially the patience that she had and the way that she was ceasingly positive. And I know that was imparted onto those kids because I remember as a 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grader, high school, college, walking through stores with my grandmother and having adults run up to her crying and hugging her, saying, "You are my 5th grade teacher. And what you did and the impact you had on my life got me to where I am." You know? And that is amazing. And the same thing for my Grandma Collins. She taught on the West Side High School chemistry and found a way to get through to kids that most people thought were irredeemable, thought were incorrigible, thought were without, not worthy of the effort. And she went for 30-something years and gave that effort. And I saw the same thing happen. I saw adults come to her and say, thank you, because you helped me take a different path. Your attention, your ability to get through to me helped me to take a different path. And that is amazing. You know, and all the teachers out there that are doing the work, that are taking the time, I commend you, you know, and I don't want to forget about the trainers and coaches as well, because guess what? They teach too. They're teaching sacrifice. They're teaching discipline. They're teaching hard work, just like our teachers are. And they're having to deal with a lot of the same attitudes sometimes from the students that they have to deal with that out there on the field or on the court or wherever as well. And they're figuring out ways to motivate, and they're putting in the time, and they're buying supplies, and they're paying for stuff out of their pockets like teachers do, you know? And the same things are happening. There are coaches that are changing lives out there, just like there are teachers out there that are changing lives. There are coaches that are basically teachers, and there are teachers that are basically coaches. And Coach Mike Garrison, my position coach in college. Oh man, I think about you all the time, and I'm pissed that I lost contact with you. I wish that I could talk to you sometimes, because I love talking to you, and I still tell some of the stories and implement some of the things that you imparted onto me. Now, here I am, almost 30 years later, out of college. Coach Gould, Coach Winky, and all of my guys out there that are doing it now. Shout it, Kelly, Melissa, Jen, all my teachers, Fred, all my coaches, Corey, Coach True. I love you guys. Keep doing the work, because these kids are worth it. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have a great week.
And Jenna also has reminded us it's National Nurses Week starting tomorrow. So, first of all, Jenna, stop trying to steal the week until tomorrow. Then you get your week. Okay, your week don't start until tomorrow. So stop trying to steal days from the teachers. But that being said, that is a very good thing that, you know, especially with what's happened in the last year. I know plenty of nurses and doctors who were, like my aunt, for example, was retiring in February of last year. Guess what she didn't do? Right. And she's not the only one. There's plenty of stories like this of folks who, you nurses and doctors are on the front lines, especially during the early parts of this pandemic back, last year, a year ago, just right now, when things are really, really bad, and you were out there and you're being fearless, and you were going and you were showing your true grit and taking care of other people and putting other people before yourselves, all while wearing a mask, amazingly. And I don't think that we can say enough about the sacrifices that medical personnel, and that's Nurses Week, so we'll focus on nurses like Jenna, who we don't just love you because you support this show. We love you because you're out there and you're sacrificing yourself and you're putting other people before yourself. And that is one of the professions where, you have to have people who have empathy and who have a caring demeanor about them. And it doesn't mean that you're perfect people, but it does mean that, you have a grace about you that is, I certainly don't have. And that is not lost. None of what has been sacrificed by nurses, doctors, first responders, et cetera, over the last year has gone without notice from, I think, any of us. So thank you to all of the nurses, but not until fucking tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow we'll thank the nurses. Today we thank the teachers, and I think it's like National Groundhog Day or something or whatever.
That was in February.
It's Peanut Butter Appreciation Day today too, I'm sure. But all right. So that being said, Mikey, you got anything else, or are you good?
Nope.
Oh, you know what? I do want to ask you a question. Did you like the new Among Us updates? They suck, don't they?
I don't play Among Us.
You don't play that anymore? Oh,
I never played it. I played it one time just because I was guilt tripped into doing so, and I thought it was not for me.
oh, they updated it, and I deleted it off my phone. So anyway,
I would never do that shit. What are you talking about?
you would never delete your phone? Delete
No,
something
play
off your phone?
games. I don't play games anymore. I'm out of it.
No.
I play Toon Blast all the time.
That's because Ryan Reynolds, you have a crush on, and he tricked you into getting that game because of his
I don't think
excellent
he's a
commercial.
Toon Blast guy. Is he Toon Blast guy?
He did the whole commercial things with them.
Oh, I never saw that.
Man,
But
the
I would've,
last game I
because
played was
he's
Fruit
very
Ninja.
dreamy. Ryan Reynolds is very dreamy. Very dreamy fellow.
Are we done? Can we go? Let's go.
Yep. Bye.
All right, we're out.
I have the pleasure not to introduce who I believe is one of the baddest motherfuckers in the world.
Double it up. Double it up. Double it up.
I just had to hear it one more time.
Okay.